I'm Brian France, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of NASCAR. 49 years ago, my grandfather started the Great American Race. Today, it's the 50th running of the Daytona 500. So sit back, our millions of fans, and we thank you so much, and enjoy the Great American Race.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight, throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the double say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys. Oh, yeah.
We won the Daytona 500! Woo! 3, baby! 3, yeah!
Love to see a perfect hit. Love to see them tag. Love a last lap turn for pass. And my guy takes the checkered flag. Love it when it's 4 wide. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leader's car back is moving fast. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the W say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
On a special day, the golden anniversary of the Daytona 500. This is the Great American Race. 250,000 fans have gathered here, and you have the best seat in the house. Fox brings you NASCAR Super Bowl with favorites like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, two-time champ Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart racing in a Toyota for the first time. All chasing history at 190 miles per hour. Familiar faces and new places, old school faces. Once again here at the races, past Daytona 500 champs. A warm sunny day, 85 degrees the warmest Daytona 500 we've ever run in. We could threaten that with some clouds in the sky. And our home office, the Hollywood Hotel, located in their Victory Lane, open for business, where America gathers every weekend for NASCAR. Back on the air for the 8th straight year, and we're glad you're with all of us. I'm with some champions here. Driver and crew chief, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. The gang is all here. It's good to be back. 2/3 of us won the '89 Daytona 500, right?
That's exactly right. Make sure you get it right.
We would have let you bet. You could have come along if you'd like to, but you know how big this day is?
How big is it, Darrell?
Today is Race Day in America, proclaimed by U.S. Senate, and tomorrow is a holiday. And look, we're on the cover of USA Today. This is exciting, man.
Yeah, but you also got to remember, what's the date? February 17th.
Ooh.
February 17th, 1989. We won the Daytona 500.
Yes,
you
we
and me.
Yes, we did.
All right,
That's exactly
I want
right.
to, Darrell,
One more time.
even in high definition, you are beaming with excitement just to be at this track for this race and the 50th running.
Did you see those guys? A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti. There are 24 living Daytona champions here this weekend. And for me, it's a flashback. Those guys were here. Those were my heroes when I started in this business 40 years ago. And they're roaming around here. The funniest thing I heard one of them say is, I said, "So what do you think?" I said, "Man, I can't find anything."
Well, it's changed a lot. We have bands, we have drivers, a lot going on. And let's look forward to today's race because Speed Weeks here at Daytona off to a fast start. A little bit of a temper issue, and it goes back. Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, that's Kurt in the 2 car, Tony in the 20. This was practice for the Budweiser shootout. And they were both placed on a 6-race probation, starting with this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting used to the green and white, and the 88 Hendrick National Guard car wins the Budweiser shootout. Then on Thursday here at Daytona, won the first half, the Gatorade Duel. Denny Hamlin in a FedEx Toyota wins the second half. So I have to ask you guys, and I'm sure fans are wondering, last year, Junior and Toyota couldn't win a race. Now they're the favorites in this special race.
Well, the first thing is they changed team. Dale Jr. changed to a different team. That made the difference in him from last year to this year. Toyota added a team. They added the Gibbs team. The guys on the Toyota teams had done a lot of hard work, but Gibbs came in and put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see right now a different Toyota from a year ago. They struggled. Today, they're going to be definitely a threat to win this race.
All right, we're going to talk about who can knock the mighty off. Today, Jimmie Johnson, who won this race in 2006, takes his first step towards something that's been done only once before, try to win his third straight NASCAR championship. Cale Yarborough, one of Jimmy's idols, did it 3 decades ago, and our pole sitter is ready to roll.
The 2006 Cup winner, Jimmie Johnson.
Here he is, Jimmie Johnson.
Jimmie Johnson wins his second Cup title.
Going for back to back to back.
The driver of the 48 Lowe's Chevrolet joining us live from down on the track, getting ready to go. Jimmy, let me ask you, are you at this stage, fans want to know this close to the start of things, a race like this, are you anxious? Are you nervous? Can you be calm?
I'm not doing too bad right now. I think when I walk out on the front stretch, we'll all come back. It's so tough to walk into our biggest event as the start of the season. And, you know, right now, some familiar feelings are coming back, some of the stressful feelings and all that stuff that goes on. But when you walk out on the front stretch, it's going to hit me full force.
Hey, Jimmy, it's a DW. Is some of that stress coming from the fact that you didn't have a great 150? And I've seen you guys working on that car a little bit more than I would like to see you work on it before the 500. How are things with the car, and how do you look for today?
You know, the 150 was tough for me because we were up front, we were running well. The car wasn't driving just as I wanted it, but we still had a decent performance, and I got on the fence a little bit, had a tire rub, and then the way things worked out, I was in the middle of the pack and just kind of went to the back and didn't want to risk anything. But the last 2 practice sessions that we've had, I feel that we've picked up a lot of speed and also kept the drivability in the car, and I'm really, really excited about today's race.
Jimmy, I know you're probably focused about today, but have you seen Cale Yarborough running around there? Because he's the only other guy that's ever won 3 championships in a row. I mean, are you looking for any insight from him?
I hope to catch up with him and talk to him at some point about it all. He's a hero of mine, as you guys spoke of, and it's great seeing him here today along with the other champions of this great race. And just an overwhelming day, and I'm just excited to be a part of it all. I'm fortunate to have won my 500 and hope to win this 50th today.
All right, well, Jimmy, part of winning, I mean, you were at the White House, you were hanging out at the Super Bowl, Nick Lachey, some of the celebrities. You had a good time, got to meet Ryan Seacrest. How do you keep all that in perspective as you know you got a good job to do?
Man, this is my day job. This is what I do. I stayed busy during the off season, but I'm so happy this race season is here and I'm ready to get back on track.
All right, well, good luck today and throughout the year. All right, we look forward to it.
Thank you.
All right, Jimmie Johnson joining us, getting ready. And how about, you know, what do you give him? What kind of a chance to win 3 in a row? It's only been done, it's a long shot.
I think he's got an excellent chance. I mean, I've been trying to get this in, but, you know, Herb Brooks, the coach of the United States hockey team in 1980, he says, you know, great moments are born from great opportunity. Today, a great opportunity to win the 500, but also to make history as far as the 3-peat's concerned. And he can do it. He can do all the above.
You know, we're in trouble when he's quoting a hockey coach. I thought I was the only one with notes.
I think the X factor in all of this, the Hendrick teams in general, is Dale Jr. I think Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson have had a really great thing going. They've got this thing to themselves. Now they've got to fit in another superstar, a big name. I just hope that doesn't disrupt the flow of what they've been doing, because Jimmie Johnson, that team is together, and it could win this championship again.
Yeah, they're talking that may be too much for one team. We'll address that. All right, it's a 2.5-mile race. We have more than 70 cameras to cover it, including the unveiling later today of Gopher Cam. You won't want to miss this. It's something you've never experienced before. It'll bring you even closer to the track and the drivers. You'll see and hear things that before were not possible. We also have our pit reporters everywhere: Dick Berggren, Steve Burns, Chris Devoda, and Matt Yoakum. Nice to see you all. We'll start with Dick.
Kevin Harvick won last year's Daytona 500. I'll ask him what he thinks is going to happen in this year's Daytona 500.
Two-time champ Tony Stewart's done just about everything in NASCAR except win the Great American Race. We'll talk to him about his hair-raising speed weeks.
This driver collects Ferraris and owns multiple homes, so why is he just now putting a roof over his head? I'll talk to NASCAR's newest superstar.
The sport's most popular driver has a new team, new colors, a new number. We'll talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming up.
All right, thanks, pit crew. Here's what's straight ahead. Everybody excited for today's big race.
Yeah, this one's looking like a sequel.
50 years of 500s. We're going to walk, actually drive down memory lane with people who already have their names in the history books. We'll talk with winners from the past decades. And speaking of past winners, RDW visits back in time what most think is the most important Daytona 500 race ever in 1979. And all the news about Junior and his Hendrick run off to a great start. Is he the favorite today? NASCAR's most popular driver answers your questions in our Ask Junior segment. Plus, Junior's move isn't the only thing new this season. Jeff Hammond will get you up to speed on all the changes in the offseason. And the debut of the hit list. Find out what's number one on your favorite driver's hit list. NASCAR on Fox, the show. Tell me more, tell me more.
Well, this car is automatic, systematic, it's ultramatic. Why? It's grease lightning, guys.
We'll get some overhead lifters and a 4-barrel quad, oh yeah. Whoa, keep talking, whoa, keep talking. Fuel injection.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
70 years old.
Welcome back to Daytona. Fox takes you from the Super Bowl to the Super Speedway. We're counting it out of the 50th running of the Daytona 500, a race born on the beaches of Central Florida. Our Mike Joy has covered Daytona with passion and precision. Before he calls today's race, he'll reflect back to 1959.
Welcome back to sunny Daytona Beach, Florida. It's the 22nd of February, 1959. Hi, folks, I'm Mike Joy. The checkered flag is just waved on the first ever Daytona 500, and there's great question as to who won it. Bill France awarded the trophy to Johnny Beauchamp, but past series champion Lee Petty has filed a protest. They're going to have to wait till all the film is developed to find out who the winner of this 500-mile sweepstakes is.
Mike will take us back to the moment for each decade, continuing to flash back throughout our pre-race show. And, you know, 3 days later, Lee Petty, Richard Petty's father, was announced as the official winner and is honored here at Daytona. When NASCAR on Fox began in 2001, it was veteran broadcaster Ken Squire who first welcomed us into the racing world. And for years, Ken helped bring NASCAR into our homes in an informative and comfortable manner. He's a world-class announcer and a first-rate guy. Just a couple of reasons why we wanted him to lead this discussion, which bridges generations with winners of the Daytona 500.
The sport has changed, but has the significance of the Daytona 500 changed?
My question is, you know, what is it that made this race its significance and stand out back then? Because the way I look at it today, what makes it stand out so much is knowing that you won it and you won it and Richard won it, and it came from the beach to this incredible speedway. I'm curious where and when that started, or how you guys recognize that way back.
I think
not way back.
For me, well, it was way back. I mean,
way back.
I won it in '89. I said it hadn't been that long ago, and somebody said it's been that long. but I remember the first time I came here, Jeff. I went down pit road and I rode around on the apron, looking up there, saying, I don't think I want to get up there. It's pretty steep. You know, you got to get going really fast to stay up there. It took me a lap or two.
First warm-up lap, I remember the first lap I ever took, and that's been a long time ago, fellas. But I thought I never would get back to the start-finish line on that first lap, you know.
The other night there was this little ruckus over here in the garage area. Well, when Cale was running, there might be 3 or 4 guys waiting outside the NASCAR truck. Now it looks like a political convention.
But I guess my question, and I'm not trying to take over your job, Ken.
Don't worry, everybody takes over my job. Look at what happened here.
I mean, I get to see him from time to time, and I have a lot of these questions for him too. But I never get to see this guy.
No, I know. I want to hear what he has to say.
But you know, you brought up a good point about controversy and the media attention, and the controversy has always been there, but has it gotten the attention? Did the controversy always override the positive?
First of all, I'd like to say that I am happy that I was a part of this sport before NASCAR even had a truck. So you didn't have to go to the truck.
Couldn't go the big red truck, right? Couldn't go the
you would have been there plenty of times.
I'd have filled that truck up about all the time. They didn't even have a truck then. So,
you would have owned
I was a part of it.
Here's something else, too. Just think about this. Won 83 races, 3 championships, and what was your total career earnings?
A little over $5 million, about what he makes in a month.
That was in the late 70s. I came along and I had a great 80s, and I won a lot of races, and I earned $20 million. Unheard of. I didn't think anybody'd ever win more than $20 million. And how much have you won in your career so far?
Honestly, I have no idea. What is it, like 80?
If you have a pretty good year, you could be close to 100 million at the end of this year.
And that's great. I'm proud of you. I like a man who makes money.
That's right. And Ken Squire, he called the 79 Daytona 500. Darrell's going to look back at that special race in just a moment. That's coming up. But, Darrell, easier to win now in racing, this race, the 500, or back then?
Well, according to Cale and even Junior Johnson, they said, you know, these boys today, they couldn't handle one of those cars like we had to drive. We had no power steering. You literally hung in that race car. You had two of those seat belts. You set up on a seat about like this. And if you ever see the in-car camera of Cale going around here, he's a hopping and a bouncing. And those cars were really difficult to drive. It took a real man. Cale was a huge. Yeah. He's
still a tough guy.
He was tough as a pine knot. I can tell you. Hey, look, I made 20 million. Where's my percentage? I'm still waiting on my percentage. I mean, come on.
Hey, you're still here, aren't you?
Yeah, you're still
working, aren't you?
All right.
Yeah.
Technology has helped things all along the way, Jeff. All right, let's look at another finish that still has people talking. It was just a year ago. The ageless Mark Martin led this race after 500 miles, but he didn't win it. It was the energetic Kevin Harvick who won by the length of the hood of his car for his only win of the season at his first ever Daytona 500.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Oh, yeah, boys, let's go racing. Here comes Harvick. It's going to be a drag race. They're side by side. Here they come. Checker flag.
Harvick's win last year was surely an upset. He started deep in the field, 34th, and with 2 laps to go, he was nowhere in sight, but he won the race anyhow. What can we expect today?
Well, I think you're going to see an exciting race. Just these cars just draft up so well. You can set people up and really get a good run on them. So it's going to be exciting to watch. The cars are kind of a handful to drive, but I think as drivers, that's what you want. So we're excited to put our Shell Pennzoil car hopefully up front like we did on Thursday and see where we are coming into the race.
We wish you the best. Chris?
All right, thanks, Dick. And closed captioning, sponsored by PepsiCo and Able, employees dedicated to a more inclusive environment for people with different abilities. Wherever you're watching and listening, we're glad you're with us. 50 years, 50 miles. The madness will roll on. Coming up, we're going to hear from Junior. This is NASCAR on Fox from Daytona.
Racing is alive in 69 here in Daytona. Leroy Yarborough's put this one in the bag in his backup car. Coming from 11 seconds down, Yarborough capped off a primo decade of racing here at the beach. Junior Johnson blew the doors off a giant field of 68 cars to start things off in 1960. Richard Petty made his family proud by becoming the first repeat winner in 66. Watch out, Beatles. I think we got a star on our hands. I'll tell you, though, things are about to get out of hand. This track is pushing drivers to the limit. The pole speed has risen by 40 miles an hour. That's psychedelic. This is Mike Joy. Take it easy, man.
All right, thanks, Mike. And field of Daytona like Cooperstown or Canton today. The past 500 champs, Junior Johnson, a man of myth and legend, Mario Andretti, 67 winner. His nephew John Andretti in the race you'll be watching later today, the King. Richard Petty, winner of 200 races, 7 Daytona 500s. His son Kyle in today's race, and back with the guys. Nice to see those guys out there.
It is, and people talk about the history of our sport. You're looking at it. Those guys were here from the get-go, man, and you can go talk to them and get their autograph. It's cool. I've been so excited about them being here.
Our heroes, our legends, I mean, you can't say it any better than this, and they come back to the hallowed ground here at Daytona, where it kind of like all began for them.
It's nice to see them mingling with all of us. You know, makeover shows are the rage on television these days. You can have everything redone from your car to your house to your face.
When are you going?
Yeah, when you go.
Be on one of those?
You kid, because you care. All right, for NASCAR, it's been no different. Jeff Hammond brings us up to date with this silly season, off season, and gets us ready for today and this season.
Down here in the garage at Daytona, we've got drivers switching teams, teams switching drivers. Heck, we've even got new drivers switching series. Welcome to NASCAR 2008, my friends. Now, of course, everybody knows the biggest change in the Sprint Cup Series is the fact that Dale Jr. left DEI to go to Hendrick. Team Toyota, they hit the jackpot this year with the addition of Joe Gibbs Racing. Can you imagine adding superstars like Hamlin, Stewart, and Kyle Busch? That's right, Kyle Busch is now with Joe Gibbs. The open wheel invasion continues in the NASCAR. We have a Scotsman with an Italian name, Dario Franchitti. And maybe you've heard of his wife, Ashley Judd. Two French Canadians, Patrick Carpentier, Jacques Villeneuve. They're coming for you, Wiki Bobby. And oh yeah, don't forget about 3-time Indy winner Sam Hornish Jr. It's back. The car tomorrow is the car today, and it's here to stay the entire season. Let's see what else we can talk about. What? We're done? We can't be done. I ain't had a chance to talk about Robbie Reiser and Matt Kenseth. What about the Busch Series going to Nationwide?
All right, pipe down there, crew chief.
Man, you've gotten as bad as me.
That's all right.
They're trying to cut, and you wouldn't quit.
Hey, Dale Earnhardt Jr. joining Hendrick, is that, I've covered the Yankees, the Patriots with that perfect season almost. Is that good for the sport that all the drivers with one great team?
Well, I believe it is. I love a dynasty. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. Look at the rating it got, 18-0 going in. Could anybody beat those guys? And when they did, they just became another team. So, yeah, I think a dynasty is great.
So who could give the Hendrick guys the trouble?
Well, it's pretty obvious right now. Take a look at Toyota and what they've done, but do not count out Dodge or Ford. Everybody realizes the Hendricks have got the bullseye on the back of their uniforms. I don't care who you are. If you drive for Hendrick, everybody's gunning for you.
Real quick, changes, 19 different?
19 different drivers right now are working with 19 different crew chiefs. I mean, a lot of changes down in that garage area and a lot of chemistry trying to come together at the start of this race.
And speaking of that, Jeff, time for the weekly check-in, our NASCAR news and notes. Matt Kenseth and Robbie Reiser, one of the longest-running driver-crew chief tandems. They've broken up after 11 years together, but all good news because Chip Bowen takes over for Reiser, who moves up to general manager of Roush Fenway Racing and their Fords. And while we're getting used to Junior's move, how about getting used to Mark Martin driving the 8 car at DEI today? Casey Kane tries to raise the bar as the new pitchman for the King of Beers at his Gillette Evernham 9 car. And open wheel, big wheel Jacques Villeneuve. He failed to make this race, his venture into NASCAR, on hold as he tries to find a sponsor for his car.
Salut.
Au revoir. Toyota making a lot of noise, as Jeff mentioned. Tony Stewart driving one of those. 2-time Cup champ, 32 races won, yet to win a Daytona 500. Finishing everywhere here from last to second. The driver of the 20 Home Depot car may have a new hairstyle, but the same unique personality, and he's with our Matt Yoakum. Matt?
Chris, as a kid, Tony Stewart dreamed of following in his childhood hero, A.J. Foyt's footsteps and winning at Indy. He's done that twice. Smoke, you put tremendous pressure on yourself to win at the Brickyard. It's the same here with the Daytona 500.
Oh, sure it is. I mean, it's same questions we had asked every year, but it's always the biggest race of the year for us. So all the emphasis is put on winning here in the spring.
And your fans want to know: is it really true, if you do win the Great American Race, that you're going to cut the hair?
Yeah, I told the media in the media center after the Busch race, I said, if I get lucky enough to win this thing today, that each of them could take a clip at it. So I'm sure by the time I get done, I'll be bald by the end of the day. So it won't be pretty, but thank God for Home Depot hats.
He rolls off from the 6th position. Chris?
All right, way to work at Home Depot, the sponsor. Tony starts from row 3. And while we're talking Toyotas, after a rough ride last year, 2-time Daytona 500 winner Michael Waltrip starts on the front row across from pole sitter Jimmy Johnson. We're counting it down to the Great American Race on this special day. It's the 50th running of the Daytona 500. The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history, an American revolution.
Things are dynamite here in Daytona. It's February 19th, 1978, and Central Florida is the place to be. The force was with Bobby Allison today as he broke a 67-race winless streak on NASCAR's biggest stage. And he did it from further back than anybody's ever won the 500. 33rd. He pushed that Ford to the max and won a lot of bread, more than $56,000. Earlier in the decade, A.J. Foyt was far out in front of the competition by 5 miles. And in 1976, David Pearson, the Silver Fox, won the grooviest Daytona 500 ever. He and the King traded the lead 4 times in the last lap until they went spinning down through the tri-oval. I'm Mike Joy, wondering what could possibly top this? We'll see you on the flip side.
All right, this sport, this race, connecting us with the times in our life. There's A.J. Foyt from 1972 as we continue to Check in with the past champions. Bobby Allison, his first Daytona 500 win came in 1978. You know, you can argue about the best Daytona 500. A lot of us have. Everyone agrees 1979, probably the most important, Darrell. And that sport went live, coast to coast, punch for the first time. Everybody got to see it, and you were there. You had a bird's eye view.
Yeah, 89 wasn't bad, but 79, these guys, maybe they didn't agree on a lot then, but I can tell you something. They do agree on one thing. Their fight changed the way people perceive this sport.
It's all come down to this. Out of turn 2, Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They're out of it. Who is going to win it? At the line. Walter to the inside. And he wins it. And there's a fight between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison. The tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat.
We always end up at the end of the race.
Yeah.
But what about the beginning of the race?
I just remember going down into turn 1. It was like the end of the race was almost like the beginning, except you two guys were down there sliding around in the mud.
Did you spin him out early in the race?
No. But
Did you ever spin anybody
I
out?
never spun nobody out.
When you approached each other down there in the mud, what was the first thing you said? Your cars are wrecked. You know you lost the race.
We're on television. I can't say what I said.
Well, did you have any idea that? Did you think about you were on TV then?
Not until after Cale run into Bobby's fist about 2 times. I said, you know, we're on national TV down here. We're having a boxing match.
Bobby, you come up and you stop.
I stopped way over here by where Donnie's car was, and I said, hey, Donnie, do you want to ride back to the garage area?
See, if he'd asked me if I wanted to ride back, there wouldn't have been no fight.
Yeah,
Don't leave me there.
But instead, he yelled at me because I didn't ask him if he wanted to ride.
That's what she's mad about.
That's what I'm mad about. And I think I questioned his ancestry.
Yeah.
Did he? I mean,
yes.
He ran at me, swinging his helmet around. And I questioned his ancestry a little further, so he hit me in the face with his helmet.
Well, he should have been in the garage area by then. That was between me and Donnie, not him.
Is that what you were telling him? Get on down to the garage area?
Yeah, and give me a ride.
So what did you think when we got down to turn 3 and we saw these cats down there walling around?
I wonder what happened.
Yeah.
You know, but then, in other words, it registered about that long. Of all the races that I've won down here and kind of had luck on my side, that was the most unexpected deal because we was 20 seconds behind these guys.
That was a gift.
If Donnie and I would have had good sense,
I'm thinking
we could have got out of our race cars. They were beyond going. And we could have beat Richard back to the start-finish line on our feet.
Well, we see pictures of that race, and everybody says that's the race that made the difference.
That's the race that turned this whole sport around. It's the biggest thing that ever happened in NASCAR because it's still talked about more than anything else in NASCAR. Anywhere you go, somebody asks me about 1979 race, and we had to pay for it.
Yeah. So, in other words, that's pay-per-view, right?
That's pay-per-view, buddy.
It was real emotion. Darrell, it was fun listening to those guys get together. Did anybody really get hurt from the fighting?
Yeah, Bobby got his nose busted. Cale hit him with his helmet. But the funny thing was they didn't know how much the race paid. They really didn't care. They just know they got Donnie and Cale got fined $6,000, and Bobby got fined $2,000. And that's what they were more angry about than anything else. Never got their money back.
And I was working for Cale and Junior Johnson at the time, and when they started talking about the guys fighting down in turn 4, I turned around and take off running thinking, hey, we're like Saturday night racing all over again to hit the Daytona 500. Yeah. But, hey, Junior Johnson said, boy, where you think you're going? I turned and went backstage in the pits where I belong.
I'm sure Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart getting a kick out of what those guys were having to say there. All right, it's been a busy, crazy go-nuts time for our NASCAR on Fox broadcasters. They've been on Speed, the cable network, and they've also been sky high and well-grounded. This week, Darrell joined Richard Petty in they put their feet and handprints in the cement at the Daytona Walk of Fame. They tried to cement Darrell's mouth shut, but that failed, right?
No, okay. He tried to keep me in there, take me over and jump me in the lake. That's what they tried to do.
Larry McReynolds, honored by the Daytona Beach Dakar Racing Hall of Fame, and charities benefited from that, and with our own Jeff Hammond. Taking one of the NASCAR drivers up in the air with the Air Force Thunderbirds.
This is a wheel tether, and it's designed to keep the wheel attached to the chassis, just in case there's a separation, a crash. It's an important safety device.
Well, I am so impressed, Chris Marks.
Well,
Where did you learn about wheel tethers?
Well, I learned that from you.
From me?
Yeah, I went to foxsports.com. It's a cool website. It's Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot. You, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and fans, any fan, can ask any question about cars, racers, or personal things, like I learned that you like chicken pie.
I love chicken pie. But you know, the cool thing about it, you can go anytime and ask those kind of questions. You don't even have to talk to me about it anymore. You just log on.
Right, and during the year, people can ask questions, and you'll field all the questions throughout the entire season.
But the key thing is, if you got some feedback, we'll be interactive. All you have to do is send in the questions, and we're going to answer them for you.
So go to foxsports.com/askthepros, built by the Home Depot, and have some fun. Now, this is a lunchbox.
Whoa,
it goes right on top.
Chris.
I'm sorry.
It's an air box.
Air box.
It is a box, but it's an air box.
Right, I got to get back on the site.
Continue to work on that.
Let's go to Mike Joyce talking about 1989.
Welcome back. The 1989 Daytona 500 has been just awesome. I'm Mike Joy, and dude, we've had a decade of heavy racing. Cale Yarborough broke the 200-mile-per-hour mark, crashed on the next lap, and came back a week later to win the race. You want to know where the beef is? Just ask the Allisons. In 1988, Bobby and his son Davey finished 1-2. Some major stuff has gone on here, and there's some new network named Fox that's breaking ground. But today, after 17 tries, Darrell Waltrip finally won the Daytona 500. Let's go down to Victory Lane, where this young, rad, handsome pit reporter is with Darrell.
Driver Darrell Waltrip, wife Stevie.
Oh, I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
A great moment. And as we look at some of the past champions, Cale Yarborough in 68 and 77, and the in-car camera was there for his wins in 83 and 84. Bill Elliott won in 85 and 87. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Not in today's race, retiring at the end of the year. And our own Darrell Waltrip, before he coined boogity, boogity, boogity. He was a pretty good driver. Darrell, did that change your life dramatically? By the way, Icky Woods told me he said boogity, boogity before you.
Great,
but everybody's trying to take your life.
You can only share so much. No, you know what?
Stole his deal.
You have such relief, and I'm sure Dale felt the same way. When you're a young guy, you say, oh, we'll get them next year. We'll get them next year. But pretty soon you say, gee whiz, I'm running out of next year's, and the clock's ticking. That was what made that so special. I knew I wasn't going to get that many more chances to win the most important race in our sport. So when I won it, it wasn't like, yay, it was like,
all right, right.
Well, when you win everything else, I mean, he won championships. He'd won the Coca-Cola 600, I don't know how many times. I mean, he just could dominate anywhere he went. But this place, even though he could win another series, he could not get the big one. And for me, it was so gratifying to be allowed to watch the excitement that he had that day. I mean, it made me want to cry. We work together as a team.
You guys still get emotional when you talk about it.
We do.
And one of the strengths of NASCAR, the loyal fan base, along with the quality of drivers competition, crew chief and driver. This year, once again, NASCAR showing it's the place to be. Some of the best drivers in open wheel racing are on this stage. In fact, Darrell, we have 3 former Indy 500 winners in today's Daytona 500 race.
Yeah, there's more Indy 500 winners in the Daytona 500 than there will be in the Indy 500.
You're kidding me.
Figure.
I did not know that. One of them is a NASCAR rookie, Dario Franchitti, with our Krista Voda. Krista?
Where you go? Like Michael Jordan, you know, reaching the ultimate level of success and then trading in one sport for another. Dario Franchitti, you're now in NASCAR. Why did you make that decision?
I wanted a challenge, and I've got it. This is a big challenge, and I think no bigger challenge than Daytona 500 today, so, you know, we'll see how it goes.
How are the nerves?
A little bit nervous right now because I don't know quite what to expect. I ran the nationwide race yesterday in the Fast and All Dodge, but right now, kind of going into the unknown, so we'll see what happens.
One thing he is impressed with, the pageantry of the experience. Chris, a lot like European football or soccer.
All right, thanks, Krista, and we'll continue to count you down to the race. A new Cup sponsor. Let's sprint over to Matt Yoakum.
2008 is going to be an exciting year for NASCAR, and Dan Hesse, new CEO of Sprint. Your company has so many exciting things for 08. What's the biggest?
Well, we just launched NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, which allows Sprint customers exclusively across the country who can't be here today to get a lot of the live audio, for example, the conversations between their favorite driver and their team while they're watching the race, no matter where they are.
Enjoy the 50th.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to NASCAR and Fox as we continue to preview the Great American Race as we look back to the heroes of the past and the stars of the present.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Radio Shack. Don't just buy stuff, do stuff. By Pennzoil, feel the clean. And by Goodyear, innovative technology to help you get there.
Racing is alive in 69 here in Daytona. Leroy Yarborough's put this one in the bag in his backup car. Coming from 11 seconds down, Yarborough capped off a primo decade of racing here at the beach. Junior Johnson blew the doors off a giant field of 68 cars that started things off in 1960. Richard Petty made his family proud by becoming the first repeat winner in 66. Watch out, Beatles. I think we got a star on our hands. I'll tell you though, things are about to get out of hand. This track is pushing drivers to the limit. The pole speed has risen by 40 miles an hour. That's psychedelic. This is Mike Joy. Take it easy, man.
60s are great. Some people still stuck in the 60s. It was so good we showed it to you twice, but let's look ahead to the 80s with Mike Joy.
Welcome back. The 1989 Daytona 500 has been just awesome. I'm Mike Joy, and dude, we've had a decade of heavy racing. Cale Yarborough broke the 200-mile-per-hour mark, crashed on the next lap, and came back a week later to win the race. You want to know where the beef is? Just ask the Allisons. In 1988, Bobby and his son Davey finished 1-2. Some major stuff has gone on here, and there's some new network named Fox that's breaking ground. But today, after 17 tries, Darrell Waltrip finally won the Daytona 500. Let's go down to Victory Lane where this young, rad, handsome pit reporter is with Darrell.
Driver Darrell Waltrip, wife Stevie.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
It's 1997. Jeff Gordon just said, "Show me the money," as he banked $377 grand for his 500 win. At age 25, he's the youngest winner ever. It's been a stellar decade here. One of NASCAR's best moments happened when champion Ned Jarrett called the race as his son Dale won the 35th 500.
Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500. Oh, can you believe it?
NASCAR lost a hero when Neil Bonnet died in a practice crash here in 1994. And it's been a heartbreaking decade so far for Dale Earnhardt, who's placed second in the 500 3 times and lost it just about every which way you can. Wonder if he'll ever win it.
And we welcome you back here to Daytona. Going into 1998 in Daytona, Dale Earnhardt was 0 for 19 when it came to winning NASCAR's biggest race. 500 miles later, history had been made. Our Larry McReynolds was Dale Earnhardt's crew chief in 98, and he recalls a man and a race that will live forever.
I certainly knew and realized how much Dale had accomplished here at Daytona. He had won absolutely everything you could win here. I knew deep inside that there was that one dot missing in his career. But there was something about the 98 500 that just had a different feel to it. Dale just knew how good that race car was, and he said, "I'm gonna tell you what, you just get me to the rear bumper of the cat that's leading this thing at the end, and he will be one screwed up individual. I will win this race if you'll just get me there." Nobody was going to count this a done deal until we absolutely saw the checkered flag wave. I knew when that car came off 4 that nothing was going to stop him from winning that race, that it was going to be records or checkers. Son of a gun. We just won the Daytona 500 with Dale Earnhardt. And to see the world's longest receiving line, every crew member of every team, every NASCAR official, everybody I think on pit road go out there. That wasn't about the 3 team. That wasn't about Richard Childress Racing. It wasn't about Larry McReynolds. That was about Dale Earnhardt finally sealing the deal in that race.
Darrell?
You know, I had something I wanted to say.
It's tough thinking about it.
It was February the 17th, 2001. My wife got up that morning and gave Dale his scripture, and it was Proverbs 17. Every time I read it, I do take comfort in it.
It was a tough moment. He lives on through many of us and in racing. I know obviously you're very touched with that, and obviously with a lot of emotion. His famous last name, great driving ability, and charismatic presence. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Carries the dreams and the memories, like Darrell just talked about, of so many NASCAR fans and those close to the sport. Swamped by autograph seekers wherever he goes. We thought it would be special if we asked Jr. to stand still and answer some questions.
Captain Connie Bookie, Illinois Army National Guard. First, I want to tell you how excited we are that you're representing all the soldiers and airmen on and off the track, and we wish you the best for 2008. I want to know how your relationship is with Jeff, Jimmy, and Casey, and whether you're hanging out with each other outside the track.
Well, Connie, me and Jeff and Jimmy, we don't really hang out much. We all kind of have different interests and whatnot, but they're great teammates. I think we're going to get along great.
Just want to say, Junior, it's really great to see you winning again. But I do have a question. What do you think I ought to do with this 8 tattoo now?
You tell me. I don't have any tattoos. What do you do with them?
Hey Dale, this is Debbie in Orlando. I was wondering about that commercial you made where you were with a camel. What's it like to work with a camel?
Working with a camel was interesting. Their breath stinks something terrible, though. That was a challenge there.
Junior question. What is Mountain Dew amped anyway? Does it taste like Mountain Dew?
No, because that wouldn't be good business. It tastes good. I like it. Tastes like candy to me. I drink a lot of it.
I'm Lloyd from Farmington, New Hampshire. Has the whole changing teams affected you at all?
Well, Lloyd, I don't know, made me a whole lot more easygoing, I think, but I feel like I'm in a better spot. I'm not quite as stressed out.
And we have one more guy who wants to ask Junior a question, our Steve Burns.
Any better for you with Hendrick Motorsports? You've already got 2 wins, but you're a big history buff of this sport. This is the 50th running of the Daytona 500. Any special significance to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big race, you know, and there's a lot of history in it, and I appreciate that. And I'm glad to be a part of it. Thankful to have the opportunity to be here and have a chance to race today. And we've had a great week leading up to today's event, just ready to get it started.
Getting used to the green?
I'm getting plenty used to it. We're having a great start. My team's really proud. We've had a lot of great, we had a good effort coming in here, a lot of help. Got to thank everybody at Hendrick for the job they've done. It's been amazing. My cars, the motors, everything's just first class.
Good luck to you, Dale.
Thank you.
Back to Chris Myers.
All right, thanks, Steve. Good luck, Junior. Fox Sports establishing Fox Sports Supports. It's a long-term charitable initiative devoted to raising awareness, financial assistance, and volunteerism for select health-related charities. Autism Speaks, you may have noticed the little items we've worn on our collar here. It's the first of our charities dedicated to increasing awareness and funding research for autism. It affects an alarming 1 in 150 children. And to learn more about autism and how you can help, please visit autismspeaks.org. Daryl's going to head out to the grandstand with the other past champions of the Daytona 500 for what should be a special and emotional ceremony as we're counting it down to the 50th running of the Daytona 500. It's exciting, it's emotional, it's throwback, and here we are, the 50th running of the Daytona 500 on Fox as we count you down at the start of the race. Closed captioning sponsored by PepsiCo and Able, employees dedicated to a more inclusive environment for people with different abilities. Daytona, quite a scene right now. Nobody knows this track better than Darrell Waltrip, who took us for a ride around the track in the AutoZone pit zone.
Now listen, normally you're over here on the other side with me. What's you don't trust me anymore?
Different year, different strategy. I want to go back playing my role. You drive, I'll be over here on the AutoZone pit box, and we'll be talking just like the good old days.
All right, you driver, got a copy of me? Yeah, I got a copy, bud. I can't come out on this racetrack and go around here in this race car and not just reminisce a little bit with you for just a second. I think about my old buddy Neil Bonnet, my former teammate, who in a practice crash up here spun and hit the wall. And that was his last time to drive a race car. But the most emotional part for me is I look in the rearview mirror as I come around this third and fourth turn. I can still see that 3 car going up the hill. I wasn't in that race. I was just like you folks. I was a fan. I was a fan standing up there calling the race, watching little Mikey come home with his first win. But that day our sport changed forever, and we lost a hero. We've all given a lot down here, and we've done it all for one thing only.
Here's It's really nice seeing those old cars with some of the drivers of today. Jeff, as we get ready for this race, is there a driver today that you think exemplifies some of the throwback drivers more than any other?
Well, I mean, the guy that kind of comes to my mind has to be Tony Stewart, because he came up through the short track dirt ranks, and he's just, you know, kind of like a combination of Junior Johnson and A.J. Fort, Mario Andretti, all the different drivers that have won this thing. He's just so much alike those guys.
50 years ago, it was written in the New York Times, an event of which Daytona Beach has dreamed for many years has finally come true. We are a part of history. Let's head trackside for opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Joint Services Color Guard present our nation's colors. Please welcome Pastor Bobby Welch, Pastor Emeritus of First Baptist Church of Daytona Beach, Florida, as he delivers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you now for this historic anniversary. Lord, we pray that you'll bless the France family, and we pray that you'll bless all these drivers and pit crews and equipment. May they do the best they've ever done. And Lord, as we look at this red, white, and blue flag, we thank you today for our country. And we pray especially for our sons and daughters who are overseas, that you'll protect them now, and the one nearest harm's way, you'll give them the greatest blessing. And we pray all this and ask you to bless these drivers and everything that happens. And we pray it in the holy and saving name of Jesus. Amen.
Please welcome multi-platinum Big Machine Records recording artist Trisha Yearwood to perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The Daytona 500, indeed the great American race. And as the drivers get ready, they hope to win, maybe provide some memorable moments here. A race for the ages. And our special feature, the hit list. This week I asked drivers to recall what moment in Daytona 500 history they remember the most. Give us your greatest Daytona 500 memory.
You know, you have to remember Richard Petty and David Pearson, you know, coming down the line.
76, when the King and Pearson wreck coming out of turn 4. I was part of the pit crew then, and we ran out to push the car across.
The race that really put the sport on the map was the 79 Daytona 500.
The Allisons and Cale Yarborough in turn 3 on the last lap, you know, with the fist fight in the infield and everything.
1979, the fight in the infield. I was here as a 4-year-old kid.
And you remember from age 4?
And I got pictures of us on the track and stuff like that.
Bobby Allison and Davey Allison finishing 1-2,
right.
Watching father-son go at it. I'm sitting on the couch with my dad watching.
So you could have a 1-2 with your brother Kyle.
That'd be great. You know, he needs to be number 2.
I remember Darrell Walsh winning his first 500.
In 89, he did Crazy Dance. Right?
Yeah, jumping on the car and acting like an idiot.
When Dale Earnhardt won, you know, in '98, that was a special time for everybody. You know, not just him. It was everybody.
Finishing second to Dale Earnhardt Sr. To be able to see him win his first Daytona 500, you know, because he tried for so many years. Obviously, if we couldn't win it, you know, following him was pretty good.
You know, obviously my favorite is last year, and just
being able to race with Mark Martin and have such a spectacular finish in the Daytona 500, that's going to be all-time favorite for me.
Time for another Fox Pit Watch. We'll begin with our veteran reporter, Dick Bergman. And Dick, I don't want to say you're old now, but I know on Dick's birthday, Lincoln takes the day off. I kid because I care. Dick, what are you watching today?
I'm watching the Daytona 500, where Bill France took out a second mortgage on his house to help build this place. In 1959, the race took place under sunny skies. 40,000 fans showed up. There were only 20,000 seats, so half of them wound up in the infield watching. 59 cars showed up. Half of them were convertibles. The convertibles started in the outside line, hardtops on the inside line. 28 failed to finish, but nobody crashed out. Lee Petty, for $2,500, bought a 59 holes, with which he won the race. But the finish was so close, it took 3 days to decide the winner.
Those early racing pioneers were true gladiators, wearing only T-shirts and primitive open-face helmets. They carpooled from race to race in station wagons and vans, just trying to make a living. Through the years, the equipment's improved, and so has the accommodations and transportation. Now, motorhomes and private jets are not a luxury, they're a necessity. But one thing that stayed constant through 5 decades here at Daytona, whether you're Junior Johnson or Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's all about winning the great American race.
And it's experienced by a new generation of fans, accountants and housewives, college students and CEOs. They all schedule February beach vacations, but few ever see the beach. Instead, they go shopping, they see concerts, they even dine on a shrimp Caesar salad washed down by a glass of wine, but they never have to leave the track.
And today, 250,000 fans from all 50 states and 31 countries. In addition to you fine folks, you look comfortable watching on Fox the Great American Race seen in over 150 different countries. And there's that small matter of money. You heard Dick Bergman. Today, the purse is $18 million, with the winner guaranteed at least $1.5 million, Chris.
All right, thanks, Steve. And you can see the blue sky and a warm, in the 80s. I mentioned 85 degrees, the hottest Daytona 500 on record. How does that affect the race, the start of the race especially?
Well, you've got to be careful. I mean, obviously, these cars right now are not going to handle quite like they did in the final practice. And again, as this racetrack goes through its transition, cooling down, that'll be something that'll be a challenge for all these teams and all these drivers to keep up with it. So to me, pitch strategy, patience, and tire management are all going to come into play today. And the key thing is don't beat yourself, Chris. I mean, that's one thing that can get you in more trouble than anything else, is trying to get maybe too excited, maybe getting in positions where you don't need to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's hard not to be excited. Junior amped up, ready to deliver in his FedEx to Denny Hamlin, and of course Casey Kane now in the Budweiser in the 9. We have to adjust to the different color schemes, but we talked a little bit about Toyota and of course the power of Hendrick. What about Ford? What about Dodge? Who looks like their best candidate to pull into victory lane today?
Well, we were just looking a minute ago at Carl Edwards in the Roush Fenway, number 99. He is doing really strong. He's been strong in practices. I think that, Jack Roush told me the other day that they're ready for this race. They're thinking about the long run. Up to this point right now, Chris, we've been running sprint races. I mean, short races. This thing is a marathon. You've got to be ready to do that. Physically, mentally, that car's got to be prepared. You've got to be on top of it from the drop of the green flag, because somebody else makes a mistake. You don't want to be a victim of that. And all 43 of these teams, when they walked through that garage area today, they believed that they could win the Daytona 500, and so these 43 drivers, but in the end, only one wheel.
500 miles over 190 miles per hour. The teamwork more important here, Jeff, probably than on any other track. Which guys do it the best together?
Well, the best to do it are the guys we've been watching all week long. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Walter. They've already shown us that they have the ability to work with each other and make it happen. Tony Stewart's another one. It's going to be up to who can get themselves in the right position at the right time.
Jimmy Johnson is your pole sitter. Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting near the front of the pack. We have a long way to go. We're glad you're part of history here. NASCAR on Fox and the 50th running. Let's go up to the booth. DW has this special announcement.
All right, folks, we got all these former champions here, and I know they're probably thinking I'm getting out of here, but no, you're not, guys. We're going to give them the command. When I count us down, guys, and anybody in the stands that wants to join in with all these great drivers, former winners, you're welcome to. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Coming up, the start of the race. From then to now, we'll race through time. The 50th running of the Daytona 500. It's NASCAR on Fox. The Daytona 500 is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. And by Sprint, welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. Welcome back at Daytona. Never before, more than 20 champions joining in for the command to start the 50th Great American Race. Let's go up to the play-by-play booth, and Mike Joy, who's back in his 2008 wardrobe. Mike?
Nothing from my closet was used in that shoot, Chris. I've already gotten text messages on my Sprint phone. Junior Johnson, the 1960 winner, and the winner of the Daytona 500, both as driver and owner. That's Buster Otten, senior NASCAR official, alongside in the pace car. And here's the view out the back of that Corvette Z06 that'll bring them down for the start. Let's meet the starting lineup for the 50th running of the Daytona 500. Here they are in our Budweiser starting grid.
Kurt Busch, Las Vegas, Nevada.
David Ruderman, Cypress Hills, Florida.
Joe Nemechek, Lakeland, Florida.
Dario Franchitti, Edinburgh, Scotland.
Kyle Petty, Trinity, North Carolina.
Jamie McMurray, Joplin, Missouri. JJ Yaley, Phoenix, Arizona.
Jeff Burton, South Boston, Virginia.
Elliott Sadler, Emporia, Virginia.
Dave Blaney, Hartford, Ohio.
Jeremy Mayfield, Owensboro, Kentucky.
David Gilliland, Riverside, California. Lloyd Boyer, Emporia, Kansas.
Travis Quaffle, Janesville, Wisconsin.
Regan Smith, Cato, New York.
Matt Kenson, Cambridge, Wisconsin.
Scott Riggs, Bahama, North Carolina.
Robbie Gordon, Orange, California.
Martin Truex Jr., Mayetta, New Jersey.
Kyle Busch, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Ryan Vickers, Thomasville, North Carolina.
John Andretti, Brownsburg, Indiana.
Paul Menard, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Dale Jarrett, Hickory, North Carolina. Sam Hornish Jr., Defiance, Ohio.
Greg Biffle, Vancouver, Washington.
Kenny Wallace, St. Louis, Missouri.
Kevin Harvick, Bakersfield, California.
Juan Pablo Montoya, Bogotá, Colombia.
David Reagan from Unadilla, Georgia. Bobby Labonte, Corpus Christi, Texas.
Mark Martin, Batesville, Arkansas.
Carl Edwards, Columbia, Missouri.
Casey Kane, Enumclaw, Washington.
Casey Mears, Bakersfield, California.
Jeff Gordon, Charlotte, North Carolina. Ryan Newman, South Bend, Indiana. Tony Stewart, Columbus, Indiana.
Reed Sorensen, Peachtree City, Georgia.
Denny Hamlin from Chesterfield, Virginia.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mooresville, North Carolina.
Michael Waltrip, Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm Jimmy Johnson from El Cajon, California.
It's the second Daytona 500 pole for Johnson, who also earned the first starting spot in his rookie year, 2002. Make it a great race day with a perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Just turn left and enjoy Budweiser, the great American lager. What great pageantry, pomp, and circumstance to get the 50th running of the great race underway. There were only a few grandstand seats in the trioval in 1959 when Big Bill France's dream became a reality. A 2.5-mile superspeedway faster than Indianapolis, and a great stock car racing tradition was born and continues today. Goosebumps. I mean, the anticipation. We're all up on our toes because we know we're going to see a great race today after the speed weeks we've seen this week, Darrell.
You should have been down there with me. You had the past, you've got the present, and you've got the future. and I'm rubbing elbows with all my old buddies, and I mean, it was just unbelievable. I got to tell you, folks, I was torn up as a can of kraut. I couldn't hardly stand it.
Larry, the fastest car doesn't always win the 500. There's a lot that's going to happen in these 200 laps.
No, we've been down here for a week and a half. We've been running sprint races. Now it's D-Day, 200 laps, 500 miles. Yeah, this start's going to be exciting, and trust me, the finish will be, but there's going to be so much happening in the middle part of this race. The strategy, avoiding the big one, making sure you make no mistakes. And you know what? When it comes to the end, that split-second decision, just like Kevin Harvick did a year ago, picking the right partner to go with. Mike, I've been coming down here for 28 consecutive years. I have never felt the energy and excitement that I'm feeling right now here.
But, Darrell, 2 T's, tires and tempers.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is this is a race now that you have to use patience. You got to use all your senses. You got to see it. You got to feel it. You got to touch it. You got to smell it. But the one that's most important is that common sense. Better use a lot of common sense if you're going to run 500 miles here and end up in Victory Circle.
We have a new toy for 2008, and there he is. Gopher Cam. We have not 1 or 2, but 4 Fox Gopher Cams, 1 in each corner.
Better duck, Ethel.
They'll be coming at him much faster than that when they drop this green flag.
Yeah, this is pace car speed here.
Time for our FedEx Racetracks question. This one's from Neil in Toms River, New Jersey. We know Richard Petty's won a record 7 Daytona 500s. What crew chief has won the most?
Well, Richard had a couple of crew chiefs, but the crew chief that's won the most Daytona 500s with his crew chief, a man by the name of Dale Inman, was with him for 5 of those wins.
Richard Petty's cousin, Dale Inman. Send your questions to foxsports.com, keyword FedEx, and we may pick you as our FedEx letter of the week. The crew chief for Richard's other 2 500 wins, his father, former champion and the winner of the first 500. Lee Petty. Late breaking stories. Let's go downstairs first. Dick Berggren.
Well, most of the attention this week has been focused on Dale Earnhardt Jr., but keep your eye on that number 24 car. Jeff Gordon has won the Daytona 500 3 times. Most of his over-the-wall guys are back again, and he's got a fast car, Matt Yoakum.
In 1980, Kevin Harvick's parents gave him a go-kart for his kindergarten graduation. 27 years later, his storied career has seen a Daytona 500 victory. Now, he wants to do it back-to-back. And Krista, he told his team after the Gatorade duel on Thursday, my car, extremely sporty.
Well, nothing takes the place of the Daytona 500. That's what Tony Stewart told me earlier this week. And he said winning any other big races, which he has done, does not offset the fact that he has not won this big one. He's won everything else at Daytona except the Daytona 500. Steve?
Krista, there's always a sentimental favorite. This year's Marvin Panch could be Joe Nemechek. He starts 41st, but forget about that. He's been one of the fastest drivers with the fastest car down here since testing. He's been one of the guys that's quickest overall. He could be a Cinderella story today.
He has to start out back, Steve. He missed driver introductions, but for a good reason. After the drivers' meeting, Motor Racing Outreach conducts chapel service for the drivers and their families. 2/3 of the way through chapel, Joe says, I gotta go. And there was such a crowd between chapel service and the stage, he couldn't get there in time. It's okay, he only has to drop back 2 spots.
There you see it, 200 laps, 500 miles pit road speed after being out on the racetrack at 190 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour. Pit window for fuel, 44 to 46 laps.
Lee Petty in 1959 in front of a sparse crowd. It's Johnny Beauchamp at the finish line in a photo finish that took 3 days for all available newsreel and still photographs to come in and be decided. Now, 49 years later, who will etch their name in the record books?
DW, in honor of 50 golden years of this great American race, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
Biggity, biggity, biggity. Let's go racing, boys.
Lead change. Michael Waltrip in front of Jimmy Johnson.
Got a little help down that back straightaway. A little bump draft from Denny Hamlin in that 11 car.
Larry, I think you've said it several times since the 150s. We really didn't know how good that 55 car was. I think we're getting ready to find out.
DW, he won't seize 5 points for leading the first lap of the Daytona 500. That 55 car will lead it.
He left here 100 points in the hole last year.
And now he has 5.
2 of the big pre-race favorites are behind Waltrip. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Reed Sorensen.
I got to brag on his gold wheels. He would just be torn up if I didn't. And he's got those gold wheels on for the 50th anniversary.
And that may be Speedy Dry kicked up there out of turn 2. They'll take those gold wheels off of his and his teammates' car at the first pit stop and auction them for charity.
Now it looked like the high line had to run down the back straightaway with Denny Hamlin in the 11, Tony Stewart in the 20, but Michael got a push from Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Looking to lead lap 2 here, but Johnson's going to fight back on the high side.
Larry, this is, for the start of this race, this is the driver's worst time in the race right now, other than the finish maybe. Seeing what you got and getting settled in. Try to stay with the lead pack, stay in the draft, and get settled in.
Waltrip 55 edges ahead. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s new ride, the 88 from Hendrick Motorsports.
And oh, by the way, it's not red, it's white.
Riding with Jeff Gordon.
These cars right now, Mike, are the hardest to drive. They will be all day long. You're on low air. The track's a little bit dirty, and so you got to be really, really cautious right now. A lot of give and take. Don't get in trouble here in this big pack of cars.
Johnson will lead this lap. Jimmy Johnson, the defending Sprint Cup champ, holds off Hamlin. Now Hamlin with his teammate Tony Stewart pushing. They go for the front.
And you never know. Jimmy Johnson might have been even at that point saying, okay, if I was leading the race on the last lap, how would that work out?
Hamlin got quite a push from Stewart in the number 20.
Oh, but they got the old rod and reel out, and they're pulling him right back in.
Casey Kane in that 9 car. The Dodgers were not very fast on qualifying day, but that 9 car has been solid ever since we went into race trim.
And for the first time in a Sprint Cup points race at Daytona, a Toyota leads a lap under green. It's Denny Hamlin.
And the new team to the Toyota camp, they're right there in the front. They've already had a 150 win. Hamlin's sitting there. It looks to me like his car is handling a little bit better than everybody else's the way he gets off of turn 2.
Hamlin dives to the inside trying to shake the draft and then comes back up top.
That's another one of those 3 wide by himself.
Yeah, you know, I thought only his teammate could do that, Kurt Busch, but I don't know. Hey, listen, it's important to lead this race. Right now, you know, you're out front, nobody around you, take advantage of it. If they can't get up there to you, it's what I call working both sides of the street. You go low, pull them up a little bit, and then you jump to the outside, pull them up a little bit.
Watching from Hamlin at Jeff Gordon. Hamlin's teammate Tony Stewart in the 20 trying to lead a lap. That's Gordon right behind, the 4-time champion of this series.
You can get such a run on the high side off turn 2, and that's exactly what Stewart in the 20, Gordon in the 24 did that time.
Yeah, the reason that is, folks, is because that high line, you don't turn the wheels quite as much. The car comes off very nice and free, makes a lot of straightaway speed.
Six of 200 laps this time by. And for the first time today, Tony Stewart leads the lap. Yesterday's winner in the Nationwide Series race.
Now, I got to just tell you that we found out from a chassis dynos after the 150s, these Toyotas are making a little more power than everybody else. And right now, it looks like they're using it.
Trouble early for the defending champion of the 500, Matt.
Mike, a lap ago, Kevin Harvick keyed his mic and said something seems to be amiss with the motor. I'm not sure what it is. Last time by, he says, I think we're getting ready to blow up.
Big concern. We've worried about this all week long, about these engines working a lot harder than they ever have here at Daytona before. Got a little bigger plate, make a little more horsepower, turn a whole lot more RPM.
Michael Waltrip in the 55 car sat on the outside of the front row. Now he's in what we call the sucker hole, the middle, and there's no help there.
When you see a car do that, start off the way he did and then fall back, that means you got a real handling issue with that car. You got to get out of that draft and move to the back.
That's Waltrip's blue 55 in the middle, backing up. Kevin Harvick did not pit that time by. He's still out on track, trying to diagnose what could be an engine issue.
It could be, and a lot of time these cars will get in all these these packs of cars. The front end will buff around a little bit, and that'll cause the engine to act like it's fluttering or missing.
You're riding with the Pied Piper of Daytona. Everybody wants to draft with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Now let me show you what Darrell was talking about. Just watch the RPM here all the way around this 2.5-mile racetrack. It will not fluctuate 200 to 300 RPM, and that's hard on an engine. That's not as many RPM as we'll turn next week, but it just stays there.
And a lot of that is what I call part throttle racing. It really is hard on an engine. When you feather the throttle here, you get the distribution inside the engine all messed up. It'll start to detonate and shake itself apart.
Here's one thing we did not see in Thursday's qualifying races. 4 cars have broken away from the field, single file. 2 of the Gibbs Toyotas, Stewart and Hamlin, 2 of the Hendrick Chevys, Gordon and Johnson.
And the only difference, Mike, is handling. If you can hold your car wide open around here all the time, you're going to pull away from everybody else, because that's what I was referring to, that part throttle thing. These guys will get away from you.
Nine laps complete in the 50th Daytona 500 on Fox. Tony Stewart continues to lead his teammate Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon with 12 laps complete in the Daytona 500. Our aerial coverage today brought to you by DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV puts you behind the wheel.
Mike, Larry, these cars now are going through a transition. They burned off a little bit of fuel. All the pressures are up in the tires and the shocks and everything else. You might see some of these guys come back to the front now because their car was a little ill. They may be doing things they didn't expect. Now they've got it under them and they're coming back.
Jeff Gordon's number 24 Chevrolet in third. How's his car handling? Let's hear what he told crew chief Steve Letarte.
Pretty good. I think we're a little bit too tight on the bottom. I can tell right from the beginning we're pushing a little bit, but it hasn't gotten a push yet. I can just tell it's leaning that way.
And that's great information to give to Steve Letarte. Pushing or shoving the nose means he's turning the front wheel and the car's not responding. These cars have mainly been fighting loose. The back end's been wanting to come around, but what Jeff Gordon knows is they burn the fuel load off, it gains weight on the front wheels, and that's going to enhance the car not turning.
And the big concern for all these teams is that right front tire. You've got to not have the car too tight where it'll abuse that tire. We've seen some issues with that this week.
10-car lead pack, and at least one of them is a bit of a surprise. The Roger Penske number 77 was Sam Hornish, Indy 500 winner, but he started 19th. And Hornish has climbed up as high as 8th and is currently running right now in 10th. Behind him, that M&M's car is Kyle Busch. He started 24th. He's about to break into the top 10.
I just got to tell you, Mike, I've thought this all along, and I still believe it. Sam, 28 years old. He can make it down here. He's got time. He'll gain some experience. If he'll drive this 500-mile race like he does the Indy 500, he'll be around at the end.
One of 4 Indy 500 winners to try to make the 500. 3 of them did. Formula One champion Jack Villeneuve had to go home. Didn't make it into the field on Thursday after a crash.
It's not so much about talent. You got to have it. It's a lot about confidence, and that's what he needs.
But Darrell, coming off turn 2, he tried to turn to the bottom to go by Reed Sorensen, and by doing that, he had no help down there to help him in the draft, and he lost 3 or 4 positions.
It's good, but you know, he's up there where he can learn, Larry. He's in a group of cars lined up. He's with some pretty good drivers here. He can learn, and before the day's over with, he'll know better than to make that move by himself.
Well, now that long snake has uncoiled. 13 cars, single file, in the lead draft, and sitting in third, the pole sitter and defending Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. Here's Dick.
who also won this race 2 years ago. His car is just a little bit loose, Mike, and he is not running as well in the bottom as he is elsewhere.
A 500-mile race is like going on a trip out on the highway. You know, you just got to kind of ride along, look at some of the scenery, maybe just take a break every now and then, and don't get too excited about when am I going to get there.
No, you know you're going to have to stop for gas, and the kids are going to want snacks anytime now.
And don't start hollering how much further is it, because it's a long way.
Are we there yet?
Well, it looks like right now he is pushing his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. Jeff will lead his first laps of this Daytona 500.
Gordon is the 5th different leader today. And he's looking back at Denny Hamlin. And on the inside, his teammate, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson.
And you got to also keep this in mind. This race car is still an experiment. It's still it's still in progress. Every time they run this thing, they learn a little bit more about it. They make it a little bit better.
"17 laps complete of 200. 4-time series champion Jeff Gordon out front in the Daytona 500 on Fox.
Hey, I like the way this one's looking. More NASCAR action on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. By Allstate, are you in good hands? And by Sprint, welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
Number 3 with a bullet, car number 18, Kyle Busch, as he drafts up on the new leader, Denny Hamlin. Busch has come from 24th to 2nd.
I don't think I've ever watched anybody that will make me say wow more than that kid in that 18 car. I tell you, I said it the other day, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. He's the only guy out there that can go 3 wide by himself.
Steve?
Mike, Kyle Busch has liked this race car, the number 18, ever since they've gotten down to speed weeks. Every time they tried to adjust on it while they've been here, they wind up going back to the same setup. Now, Kyle has just radioed in, says his car is just a little bit tight, but he likes it that way right now, Mike.
Yeah, when you change lanes the way he does, it better be a little bit tight.
Better be a little snug. Now, what's going to be interesting, we're 22 laps into this race, coming to lap 23. We've not had a caution. I think this is now when drivers and crew chiefs are going to get a little bit on pins and needles, because this is that area when we've had a few tire issues over the course of speed weeks.
And Larry, I got to tell you, we mentioned Sam Hornish. He's doing things today that I don't think I was expecting him to do. He's right up in the middle of this lead pack. And he's going to school right now, and he's with some of the best teachers out there. There he is in a 77, and he's looking pretty good. He makes me a little nervous, though, Matty.
DW, I talked to the captain, Roger Penske, his team owner, this morning. He said, we know today it's going to be a huge learning curve for Sam, being in this type of an event in real race conditions. Yes, Thursday was a qualifier, but today is all about learning and trying to impress others for gaining more stock down the road. But DW, the one thing he's saying is he sounds like a veteran. My car is pushing, I'm going to the top, and I really don't want to make too many adjustments to it.
Hey, Matty, you know why I think he'll make it down here? He is from Defiance, Ohio.
Hornish is an Indy 500 champion, but he is a NASCAR rookie. Now his teammates at Penske Racing are Ryan Newman running 15th, and Kurt Busch in the Blue Deuce, who had to take the champion's provisional, Krista.
Yeah, Mike, it has been a bad about a week and a half for Kurt Busch down here. You've mentioned the phrase snake bit. That is exactly what's been happening with Kurt Busch, really ever since he got to Daytona. And then just one lap ago, lap 23, Kurt got on the radio and said, I've got a vibration, get ready. The team got into gear, they're up on the wall. Kurt's just kind of riding it out to see what's wrong.
And Krista, Kurt Busch in that 2 car, he has had a very rough speed weeks, and that's definitely one of the cars that has shown a lot of tire wear and tire problems this week.
The best story I heard about a vibration, AJ told it. He was leading the race. He said he had a vibration. Leonard Wood said, AJ, you know how much it pays to lead this race? I don't know what it was, $200 or $300. AJ called back in and said, vibration went away.
You're looking at Kyle Busch up close. Who's he into the back of?
But he gave Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. Again, that's basically the team that Kyle Busch drove for last year. And here he gave him the push and moved him into second place, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Good job. No push from the 18 to the 24 there. So all clear.
We used to look out over this grandstand and see Junior Nation, just a sea of red jackets. And it's very evident that all those Earnhardt Jr. fans have packed the past away. The only red jackets I've seen of the fans walking into the grandstand are those of Casey King. All that red junior stuff, it's in the closet, it's in the trunk. They're wearing white and green or something else.
And they are pulling hard. Remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he won the Budweiser shootout a week ago. He won the Gatorade Dual qualifying race on Thursday. Since the Budweiser shootout started back in 1979, no driver has ever won the Budweiser shootout, the qualifying race, and the 500 in the same speed week.
I like that. I like what I'm seeing with those hands. Look how relaxed he is coming down the little front straightaway here. 18 degrees of banking in the trial. We'll run about 200 miles an hour. But look how easy he's leaning on that wheel. Now let's see what he does when he gets down here to turn one. Looking in the mirror, I'm clear back. Roller in there, get that hand over there, crank left. The car's not jumping, hopping. He's not having to correct it. That's a nice ride.
Lead change. Gordon out in front of the 11 as they come off turn number 2. But Hamlin got that high ride and the jump off too, and he has the drafting partners.
And as I watch this group of 5 or 6 cars, pretty much way back in January testing, winter testing here, this is what we anticipated. Joe Gibbs Racing, the 11 and the 18 versus Hendrick, the 24, 88, and 48. But again, we can't say it enough. The pleasant surprise in that group, Sam Hornish in that 77 car driving for Penske.
28 laps complete in the Great American Race on Fox. Denny Hamlin the leader. Richard Petty won the Daytona 500 7 times, more than any other driver, and today he waved the green flag to start the Great American Race. His car, number 43, today driven by Bobby Labonte, runs in 22nd position. His son, Kyle Petty, a former pole sitter for this race, runs in 43rd.
Oh, he's got that big grin on his face, that big smile. You done what he's done, you'd be smiling too.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 car, gave his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24 a little bump draft. The thing about that makes the bump draft so unique this year with this new car is the front bumper off the ground and the rear bumper off the ground are the same. They're a perfect match to each other, unlike the old car.
Seven lead changes among 5 different drivers so far. Let's check with Jeff Hammond.
Mike, we've been watching these packs go around the racetrack, and I've been watching the lap times, 48.90, roughly 49 flat. If you go back and look at practices on Friday, Saturday, lap times then were down in the low 47s. If you don't think the heat around this racetrack is having an effect on these race cars, and guys, it may be a salvation for the tires. We've run longer than we've run all week long, 32 laps without an issue right now. It may be because of the racetrack being so hot, so slick, and the speeds are down.
Good point, Jeff. Now, Jeff, Larry, and Darrell have a new feature on foxsports.com thanks to Home Depot. It's called the Ask the Pros page. You can ask them NASCAR-related questions online and get answers instantly. Go to foxsports.com/askthepros.
And you know, Mike, tire wear always improves from the Friday truck race to yesterday's nationwide race. Just get rubber on the track and it just gets better and better.
Now, we were riding with Tony Stewart in the 20 car, who actually led 8 laps early in the race. Right now he's just inside the top 10 and 10th. He has a couple of those Roush Fenway Fords behind him, Matt Kenseth in the 17 and Greg Biffle in the 16.
Watched Tony yesterday win the nationwide race, and he kind of fell back the same way he's doing today, but they adjusted him up at the pit stop, and man, he came storming to the front.
Matt Kenseth has gained 17 positions since the start of this race. Not known as a great qualifier, but Kenseth coming toward the front. He is in 11th as green flag pit stops begin.
And this is not till the fuel window. I think this is pretty much just being a little conservative in the beginning, making sure they're in good shape with these Goodyear tires.
Matt?
Sam Hornish said he felt a vibration. His team called him pit road. The same thing happened in the Gatorade duel. His sensitivity from the open wheel side carrying over, and sure enough, in the duel, that tire was chunking. To Dick Berggren.
Well, Casey Mears is in a bit early. The reason he felt a vibration, very likely it's a tire. We're getting close to regularly scheduled pit stops anyhow. He takes 4.
John Andretti is in, as well as Joe Nemechek. Green flag since the start of this race. 34 laps.
That tire thing is something that a driver gets planted in his mind. Here they all come by, or here comes a lot of the cars on pit road. Get that planted in your mind and you can't get it out. And first time a car shakes a little bit, you're hitting pit road.
Casey Kane's in, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, Reed Sorensen on pit road, along with Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman. And add to that list Scott Riggs and Jeremy Mayfield, the Haas cars. Steve.
And Mike, Carl Edwards in. He also saying that his car was just a little bit on the tight side. He's actually trying to save his equipment early on in the race.
Kurt Busch, Jamie McMurray, and Kyle Petty also to pit road this lap.
And just remember, most racetracks we go to, you somewhat like to pit by yourself. That way you've got a nice open pit road. But the way the draft works here, you like pitting with about 8 or 10 cars. That way when you get back up to speed leaving pit road, you can get lined up and start running the other packs back down.
Oh yeah, this is co-opetition time. Now you pit with who can help you the most.
Hard to pit here without losing a lap. You see Casey Mears on the left in number 5, losing a lap to the leader, Denny Hamlin. Now Sam Hornish is just out in front of the leaders as pit stops continue. Michael Waltrip in, along with Robbie Gordon, Travis Kvapil, Kenny Wallace, David Gilliland, and Dario Franchitti. We're told that Jeff Burton missed his pit, overshot his pit, has to go around.
Well, he actually, I think he backed back up and got in his pit box. He completed the stop, but lost a ton of time to that group of cars he pitted with.
Matt?
And service already complete on Michael Waltrip's Toyota. His crew hung a rag on the window and a small chassis adjustment. His car just too sensitive over the bumps.
Here are most of the leaders coming to pit road. Gordon, Earnhardt, Busch, and Johnson. And a whole lot of cars following them in. Steve.
Mike, Kyle Busch in the 18 says he's just a little bit tight. You see him to the right. They're going to take air out of both rear tires. Matt.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team going to work a slight chassis adjustment. Jr. says his car was neutral, but it was starting to slide the right rear. Also an air pressure adjustment for Jr., Krista.
Tony Stewart taking 4 tires. He said his car is loose. Then he said, wait, I might be wrong. It is a handful. Dick.
Pole sitter Jimmy Johnson in now for a 4-tire change. He has been on both sides of a perfect chassis. New tire changers, front and rear, but they did a good job on their first pit stop today. Steve.
Dick Denny Hamlin gives up the lead. He just told his crew, when somebody pulls up within a car length, I'm just a little bit loose. Tighten me up. His spotter, Curtis Markham, a former Nationwide Series driver, telling him what the other drivers are doing on the racetrack. Hamlin, to the attention of his team, it's a chassis adjustment only for Denny Hamlin, 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco gas.
Joe Nemechek will come back down pit road. He's got a tire rub on his number 78. So he'll make a second pit stop. Dave Blaney led a lap, and now he is in the pit lane.
Yeah, actually they're going under the hood on that 78 car, and must be something more than a tire.
Well, we've just about cycled through all these green flag stops over the last 4 or 5 laps. Looked like Jeff Gordon in the 24 car with Kyle Busch in the 18 with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 not far behind. They have come out with the lead after the cycle of pit stops, but I know we kind of keep hammering on this guy, but remember, this is one of the first pit stops that Sam Hornish in that 77 made. Great pit stop, maintained pit road speed, and he's right back out there in the top 5, 6, or 7 right now.
Tell you something else I just noticed, the average speed. We're averaging 182 miles an hour here, boys. It's getting it done.
Bit of concern in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit, Matt.
The one thing you don't want to hear over the radio is your drivers say, I have a vibration. That's exactly what Junior said to his team. He says, boys, please make sure you get the lugs tight.
You know, when you think about it, these crews, they're trying to change 4 tires. Remember, these wheels, they have 5 lug nuts per wheel, not one single lug nut. They're trying to change these 4 tires and dump that 18.5 gallons of Sunoco race fuel in about 12 and a half seconds. You always run the risk of a loose lug nut.
Trouble for one of the rookies. Paul Menard slid through his pit, had to back up. That slowed his stop. And front row Joe Nemechek almost started on the front row, but he's the first car out of the 500.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
42 laps complete. New leader. Kyle Busch drove up alongside Jeff Gordon, and it almost looks, Darrell, like he gave him a wave as he drove on by.
Well, you do that early in the race. It's kind of working together right now. There's a reason why. Kind of took a little D-dido at him, trying to tell him, say, man, I didn't mean to do that. You got a little loose on me. Might need your help later on today.
When he races in the Craftsman Truck Series, they put Rowdy Busch up over the door. He is kind of reminiscent of the character in Days of Thunder.
But you know, in the pre-race, you heard Jeff Hammond talk about 19 different driver crew chief combinations starting this 2008 season versus last year. I have said ever since it was announced that I felt like the real winner out of all these changes and swaps could be Joe Gibbs Racing with that kid right there. If they'll just keep a little tension on the chain, just a little bit, and get 100% out of him, not 110, there's no telling how many races they can win with that 18 car.
I just reckon it depends on what you're looking for.
These three have a full second now on Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I think Junior's a little bit worried about that car. Something going on with it he's not real happy with right at this point.
Taking care of it. We had blisters on the right front and right rear, so just do what you can there with it. Yeah, we got to get some.
That's interesting. Tony Eury Jr. saying that both the right front and right rear had a little bit of blistering when they came off that car after 37 green flag laps.
And I think that's why we saw those cars hit pit road a little early before they needed fuel.
Jeff Hammond.
Mike, we've been hearing a minute ago about Dale Earnhardt Jr. possibly having a loose lug nut. Now, we've seen that in years past, but in 2008, NASCAR is mandating a special plate. Not only like we normally see a wheel spacer plate, this plate has got to be between the rotor and the wheel. It's a special hard plate that NASCAR says has got to be there in the event, so if the wheel gets a little bit loose, it doesn't start gouging into the aluminum hat or the softer steel plate. Special hardness mandated by NASCAR in 2008.
Thanks, Jeff. No need of having a car fall out of a race because of one loose lug nut.
Yeah, because when you have a vibration and with a loose lug nut, normally what it can lead to is breaking the center out of that wheel. Now, Steve Burns has reported to me that Kyle Busch, our race leader in that 18 car, after 35, 36 laps, his right side tires look great. No problems whatsoever.
More from Dick Berggren on Casey Mears tires.
Well, he had one that was pretty well blistered, Mike, but I've been up and down pit road, and the majority of tires I have seen come off cars look quite good. Jeff Gordon also had one blistered, but Jimmy Johnson's tires, just the tiniest little bit of an issue that was just beginning. So it probably has a lot more to do with setup than the tire itself.
I tell you, I know our lap times fall off at the end of a run, but the overall average speed here, I just keep watching that. We're over 180 miles an hour average speed. They're not holding anything back. They're going at it right now.
Jeff Gordon wants the lead back from Kyle Busch.
And he is trying to handle these two Joe Gibbs Toyotas by himself. Of course, that's teammates you're looking at there. Kyle Busch in the 18, Denny Hamlin in the 11.
If Gordon wants help, he's going to have to back up to get it. It's a second and a half back to Dale Earnhardt Jr., his closest teammate.
And that's a good sign for Jeff Gordon. You saw how he come off the bottom of turn 4 underneath those guys, and the car didn't walk up the track. He was able to drive it straight up off the corner. That's a good handling car.
I know one thing, guys. We talked about them a while ago, and we have witnessed this ever since these cars started getting ready to race. Those two Roush Fenway Fords, Matt Kenseth in that 17,
Carl Edwards in that 99, they just keep on keeping on. And they made up a lot of ground, which is not surprising, on those green flag pit stops.
If you told me Matt Kenseth wasn't going to be in this race before the day is over, I'd say, you don't know much about racing.
What did I hear someone say earlier in the week? It's David Pearson reincarnated.
Exactly.
Denny Hamlin to the bottom. Denny Hamlin to the lead.
Now here's where Busch gets himself in a little bit of trouble. See how he's trying to cross over underneath his teammate for no really good reason at this point in the race. Now he's up there bumping him. I mean, that's all fun and games, but we got to try to win the Daytona 500 here, boys.
The 2 lead cars are Toyotas.
Before on the 18, no, that's not necessary. It's still too early.
They heard you, Darrell.
I know that's what I'd have been saying.
Before Toyota entered this sport last year, the last time a foreign manufacturer finished in the top 15 of a Cup race was an MG. Robert Berrier, 1962 in Winston-Salem. .52 laps complete in the 50th Daytona 500. Hamlin, Busch, and Gordon about 1 second out in front of Earnhardt, Kenseth, Johnson, Edwards, and Kane. They have about a 2-second gap to another pack led by Sam Hornish. Here are our Toyota top performers of the race thus far, and they are all from the Joe Gibbs team.
And you know, Toyota is working on trying to sweep the weekend, essentially. They won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race with Todd Bodine on Friday night. They won the Nationwide Series race yesterday with Tony Stewart. So they're trying to sweep this entire weekend here at Daytona.
And you know, as I look at these cars, Mike, they have gotten strung out a little bit, but they're not out of touch. They're still cars that can catch back up.
Now, early in the race, Matt reported on a possible problem for Kevin Harvick, the defending champion of the 500, who thought his engine might be going south. Matt has an update.
Mike Harvick back in the 22nd position. He said his car was tight. They put some tape on the grill on his pit stop, but Harvick says the car is just painfully slow. He's tried the top. He says it seems like he's better on the bottom, but all the fast guys are running up top. That's a big hindrance for the defending 500 champion.
And evidently Kevin was telling his crew chief, Todd Berrier, that the water temperature was a little bit cool. So what they were able to do is we've got a battle for the lead again between these teammates, Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch in the 18, Denny Hamlin in the 11. But evidently they put some tape on the nose of that car, bring the water temperature up, and that plants the nose of the car, helps the front end bite.
Darrell, you've led the race. Your teammates led the race. Why is neither content to just play follow the leader a while?
Could be a couple of things. Your car doesn't handle well with somebody behind you. You're happier with it out front. It could be the tape issue. Maybe you get a little bit warm tucked back in there behind somebody. Or maybe you're just 22 years old and you don't want nobody in front of you and you're going to pass them off.
You got the need for greed. Maybe.
Well, while they're having fun and games, that group behind them, they have decided to line up behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the white 88, and it's bringing them right back to them because they're lined up. When those top three are mixing it up, it slows the lap time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Larry. Some of these guys are strung out, but they're not out of touch. There's enough draft back there to pull you up if you get lined up.
That second pack led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now they're just 0.8 of a second behind the lead group and gaining.
Our Gopher Cam showed us the difference in the lines that those two groups are running. The top three, they were around the bottom through 3 and 4. The next 5 cars right around the top side, trying to keep them wound up.
And now Junior can sniff the draft from those 3 lead cars and should pull right up to them.
Trying to keep them wound up, Larry, and in the drive and ride, it's a lot smoother. Right up next to almost touching that safer barrier.
Kyle Busch is going to try the low side. Hamlin moves down with him, leaving Jeff Gordon up top. The fellas look in the mirror. The pack is coming.
The Pied Piper is bringing them.
Rowdy Busch brings them around Daytona at over 180 miles an hour. 57 laps complete.
I didn't see that twist coming. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the 2008 North American Car of the Year, the all-new Chevy Malibu.
60 laps, 150 miles. Kyle Busch in front of Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon. Joe Nemechek has gone to the garage, and Sam Hornish has made a pit stop for a vibration. That pretty much brings you up to date. The second pack caught the leaders, and now they're establishing just a little bit of distance there.
We are probably with about 10, 12, maybe 14 or 15 laps from what would be their second green flag stop. Again, you just mentioned Mike, Sam Hornish in the 77 car pitted after 24 laps, had a vibration, decided to come to pit road early, so he's now 1 lap down.
Dick?
Jeff Gordon, currently running in the second position, has a race car that is basically tight. But when he hits the bumps, Mike, especially if he's got some wheel in it, in other words, turning the wheel pretty hard to the left, the back end just snaps right around on him. So not happy at all with the behavior of the car, even though Gordon is running second. Steve.
Dick, listening to Kyle Busch's spotter, Jeff Dickerson, he just said, hey, let's take it easy. Let's ride for a while. And Kyle Busch said, negative, Ghost Rider. These guys are racing up here.
I would say they are. All I know is we're 61 laps into this race. We have had 7 different leaders and a dozen lead changes already.
Well, like I've said about Kyle Busch all along, he might be a real bad boy, but he's going to be a real good man, I can tell you that, because he's got the fire in the belly.
John Andretti, you saw the 34 unscheduled pit stop for tires. Tony Stewart has led this race. He led 8 laps, but he's now drifted back to 15th position. That's sort of uncharacteristic not to see smoke up in the lead pack, Krista.
Tony has actually been a lot of fun to listen to on the radio the last few laps. He said, guys, I need a raise. He said, Zippy came on the radio and said, hey, Tony, come on. The harder you go, the more we can learn about this car. Tony said, all right. I'm going to try, boys. I'll try to give you better info. He just got back on the radio on this lap and said the car will not turn when he hits the bumps on the track. But, yeah, the first comment I heard was, I need a raise.
And I think that's one thing, you know, that we cannot document enough. And Darrell, you were out there yesterday in your ride and drive. Yeah, this racetrack, it's wide, but it has so many dips and bumps. All the in-car camera stuff we've seen all week long, a driver is busy in that race car.
Yeah, don't think about them, folks, as much as bumps as they are dips. And the cars hit these dips in the racetrack, it launches the front wheels up in the air, and it makes the car difficult to drive. The guy that can master that is a guy that's going to be having the best day.
Kyle, did he not know Hamlin was right there?
I think he did.
Oh, okay. That's his teammate, though.
He did his teammate yesterday, Tony Stewart, the same way. And what I can't believe is you drive all over the place like he does. Look at him. He goes top, bottom, top, bottom. You got to have a good handling automobile to do that, man. That thing's got to be up under you.
Comes off the corner in front of Gordon. Change lanes.
Back to there.
You need what the English call trafficators, those little semaphores that came down out of the B pillar to indicate that you were changing lanes or making a turn.
I'd like to have a graph on him for the whole 500 miles.
I think Denny Hamlin said enough of this.
And he got a little bit of help from Jeff Gordon in that 24 car.
Pretty strong there, Superman.
That's a crew chief. Crew chiefs are always Superman, hot rod, big shot. They got it all.
What Hammond call you?
Jaws.
65 laps complete. Denny Hamlin leading in Daytona.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by FedEx. Every day is race day. By the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. By DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV puts you behind the wheel. And by non-drowsy Claritin allergy products.
The last 5 lead changes have all been between Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. Busch is back in front. leading Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Matt Kenseth. Now Elliott Sadler, you see, has scrubbed the wall pretty hard. And his Dodge makes a pit stop. Here's a look from our aerial coverage from the DirecTV blimp. DirecTV, your ticket to the most sports in HD.
Now Elliott Sadler started 35th. Over the course of 69 laps, even with the green flag stop without a caution, he had driven up to the top 10. He is up to the 9th position. Looks like possibly car got away from him up in the corner, got against that wall. I'd say we're definitely within that window. Over the next 4 to 5 laps, we're going to see pit road a very busy place again.
Larry, we come down here, we've seen Fords dominate, we've seen Chevrolets dominate. But today, a look at the leaderboard shows that Toyota has led all but 5 laps of this race. Jeff Gordon led 4, pole sitter Jimmy Johnson led 1.
And I think it's a combination of everything. I think just shows how much that they have grown and how much they've developed over the course of the year. There's a lot of work that's went under the hood, and then you add Joe Gibbs Racing to the mix, you see the results.
You know, Larry, let me say, do you recognize any of these guys sitting up here on this pit box? You recognize my buddy Darren Grubb sitting here behind Tony Eury Jr. And over on the other side is Brian Whitesell. Any of those guys have anything in common?
They have been with Hendrick for a long time. Darren Grubb was actually the acting crew chief for Jimmy Johnson 2 years ago when he won the Daytona 500.
Brian Whitesell was with Jeff when he won the 500. And Tony Jr. has been with Dale Jr. when he's won the 500. That's what's calling this race for Dale Jr. And that's what's going to give them the advantage that they've never had before. They got help.
Yes, sir.
Good help.
A lot of depth.
Junior's in 4th place. Matt Kenseth drafting along with him is the highest Ford in the race. Casey Kane, the top Dodge, in 7th.
Now there you see Elliott Sadler in the 19 car behind Kyle Busch in the 18. What Elliott is trying to do is stay in touch with the leader, because in NASCAR, if a caution comes out, the first car behind the leader that's 1 lap down when the field is frozen gets what we call a free pass. He gets to go around and he's back on the lead lap.
Dick Berger and Casey Mears was a top 10 car earlier. He had just fallen out of the top 20 as he comes to you.
And he is on pit road, Mike. They're all going to be taking 4 tires on this stop. Everybody certainly is aware of the need to take good care of their tires. Right now, Mears having a perfectly good stop underway. No major changes to the chassis on his automobile. A lot of people pick Mears as a dark horse to win this event.
I picked him as the Pete Hamilton of this race. Hamilton came down here as the junior member of the Petty team in 1970. Only New Englanders had ever heard of him. He won the 500. Casey Mears hasn't been getting the attention of his Hendrick teammates, but who knows? This could be his day.
Yeah, you know, after he won the Coke 600 last year, I said that's going to be the thing that propels him to stardom. And I tell you, he ended up the year last year in pretty good shape. And I think you're right, Mike. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there with him.
Comes Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car, Kyle Petty in the 45. Again, all these are scheduled green flag stops. What I see is they're adding some laps to the green flag run. 34 to 36 the first time. Now it's getting up there to about 38, 39 laps.
Caution free in this Daytona 500 so far. Big pack of cars entering pit road, 3 wide, trying to get down there into pit lane. The 9 is Casey Kane, the 99 Carl Edwards, and they get it all sorted out. Krista.
Matt Kenseth said his car is pretty good. He says it's a little loose, but I don't know if I would really mess with it too much. He is very happy with the number 17. He started 28th. He came in 5th. Matt?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. says no vibration on the right front, but I don't need to know that to know that the right front is absolutely gone. He also said the car was tight. They said, how tight? He says tight. He said it 5 times, Dick. He's away.
And Jeff Gordon has just been in for his pit stop as well. The catch can man, Jamie Frady, with a very long wrench, can reach and get the job done to adjust that chassis.
The leaders are coming. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, the 2 Joe Gibbs Toyotas, pitting together. Steve.
Mike, you see Denny Hamlin in the 11. He says, just tighten me up a little bit again this time. They're going to make a small air pressure adjustment. You see his teammate Kyle Busch in the 18. Kyle said everything feels good. Let's don't change a thing. So just 4 tires of fuel for the 18 of Kyle Busch.
Their teammate Tony Stewart in also, Krista.
4 tires fuel for Tony Stewart. He says right now his race car is loose. He also said before he came in, this set of tires, boys, is gone.
The longest the Daytona 500 has ever gone without a caution flag is all 200 laps.
That's right.
1959, the first one, won by Lee Petty, caution free.
Now this little kid right here, he's been strong the entire speed weeks. Reed Sorensen in that Target 41 car, he just led the race and got himself 5 bonus points for leading.
First Dodge to lead today, Sorensen. He pits along with Mark Martin in the 8, Ryan Newman and David Reagan.
Averaging 181 miles an hour.
Except down pit road.
Yeah, throw that in there just for a break.
Is that 55?
55 miles per hour.
Somebody will be screaming, I can't drive 55 before it's over with.
We are just about cycled through the entire set of green flag stops here. This is good news for cars like Sam Hornish in the 77, Elliott Sadler in the 19. This should get them back on sequence. What they need, though, in the near future is a caution to get bunched back up and back on equal ground as far as the pit sequence.
When pit stops began, we had 36 cars on the lead lap. And now we cycle through and put Kyle Busch back up front. And a little difficulty for our pole sitter, Jimmy Johnson, on this stop.
I wondered how he got so far back.
Now they have 3 new over-the-wall members on what was last year's championship-winning team. And the jack comes down.
Yeah, and the left front guy was fine, but the left rear could not get his job done. Very lengthy stop for last year's champion.
And that's the guy they've been working on, is the jack man, and looks like he let him down.
We'll update you on where Jimmy Johnson cycles through when we come back.
NASCAR on Fox, and our first caution flag is out. Debris in the backstretch. Time for an AT&T race break. We're 80 laps through, and Kyle Busch at age 22 currently your leader. By the way, youngest Daytona 500 winner in history. Jeff Gordon in 1997 won this race at the age of 25. So far, the Gibbs Toyotas have dominated, and our first caution as the track temperature started out warm. Jeff Hammond, it's cooling off. Sunsets in about an hour and a half here in Daytona.
Yeah, and watching that track temperature is going to have a huge effect on how these cars have been handling. Some of the guys have been making adjustments because the car's been loose, so they may have to go back and take that back out as the track starts getting more grip. Track's definitely going to get faster.
And we weren't too far away from where you thought pit stops were going to take place anyway before the first caution.
Yeah, we were able to get that through that second round, and it looks to me like we're starting to settle down a little bit, guys, get into a rhythm of the race, and I think this caution is going to put everybody back on an even kind of keel so they know what to expect out of their race cars. Guys like Jeff Gordon here, you know, very solid run so far, just kind of keeping pace with everybody. Denny Hamlin, same way, been up toward the front all day, so they got a pretty good grip as far as what they think their car needs to be, and this caution may be just exactly what the doctor ordered.
Our average speed so far at a record pace, 16 lead changes, 8 different leaders, and that is your AT&T race break. Let's rejoin upstairs in the play-by-play booth for pit stops. Mike, Darrell, and Larry.
We promised we'd update you on Jimmy Johnson, who had trouble with the jack on the left side of the car. He came out of the pits in 25th. And let's see if everybody on the lead lap who is eligible to stop this time comes in.
I think they will, just simply because of those right side tires. I think we may see a lot of guys maybe go with just 2 right side tires. Steve Burns.
Larry Mack, that is the plan for Kyle Busch, the 18 car, just right side tires. Of course, they'll top off the fuel. Krista.
Steve, right side tires only for Matt Kenseth as well as his Roush teammate Greg Biffle. Matt.
More adjustments for Dale Earnhardt Jr., though. They said they are working the tightness out of the race car. 4 tires for Junior, Dick.
And Jeff Gordon said the adjustments on that last pit stop made the car, and I quote, sporty.
There's your race off pit road. It does not include the 41 of Reed Sorensen, who stayed on track. I believe, during this caution.
It was a very busy place, though. A lot of work going on down there.
Kyle Busch leads the DirecTV race off pit road. 81 laps complete. .82 laps this past 200 miles. There is the Chevrolet Corvette Z06 pace car out in front of the field. From Chevrolet, winner of more NASCAR races than any other manufacturer in history, Chevy, an American Revolution. There's a look out the back. Junior Johnson drove it for the initial green flag today, and there's your leader, Reed Sorensen, right behind. Denny Hamlin has led the most laps of this race so far, 32 of them, but he has a concern.
For some reason, it's like synchronizing or whatever. You know, every time I roll into the pits, I don't use the clutch. I just kind of pop it out of gear. It won't pop at all out of gear. I got to clutch it. And when I go to just shift on the racetrack, I really got to yank it out of the gear that I'm in and then pull it hard into the next gear. I mean, I'm being as easy as I can with it, but I mean, I can't get it to move.
Yeah, Tim, for the coming out of gear, you know, those dog rings are a little bit different. That makes sense. You're gonna, you know, have to use the clutch more than the transmissions last year. I can understand that, but it should fall into gear.
Always diagnosing what's happening with a race car. Always.
And it's the start of a new year. There could be something different about the gearbox from last year, feeling different.
Looks like we're ready for our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear, indoors and out.
Just to update you, Reed Sorensen in the 41, Kurt Busch in the 2 elected not to come to pit road. We've got 39 cars on the lead lap. We've got 3 cars 1 lap down. Joe Nemechek is back out there 28 laps down.
Time for our first Crank It Up.
Oh, yeah.
Give those surround sound knobs a twist, because we're about to crank it up with the sound and fury of NASCAR. Green flag. Reed Sorensen chose not to pit, and Reed has lost the lead.
I think he's probably regretting that about now. Wow. Tires make such a difference, even just a couple, 3 laps.
You can see he's hung on the outside in that 41 car, getting a little help and a bump from Casey Mears in the 5. Casey said, look, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to follow Ryan Newman in this 12.
Oh, yeah, he's going somewhere, Larry. He's going backwards.
Got Mark Martin in the 8 car. He's in trouble coming 2, 3, and 4. We're hearing that a tire is down on that 8 car.
Tire down.
And Mark, who came within,
4, guys, going in 4.
came within 100 feet of winning the Daytona 500 last year, has to make us pit stop under green.
Looks like Brian Vickers in the 83 car. He's coming to pit road as well. Looks like both cars will make it as we stay green.
Now, Kurt Busch, the older of the 2 brothers from Las Vegas, driving the number 2, did not pit, and yet he has been able to hold off his younger brother for the lead.
And what we've seen all week long, it's not that new tires make you faster. They just have more grip. You can maneuver the race car. You can drive through it, Darrell.
The only thing about that 2 car I've noticed is when he's got fairly good tires on, he can keep up. But his car seems to go away really, really quickly after 8 or 10 laps.
The Bushes are just the latest in a long line of brother acts in NASCAR that date back to the 3 Flock brothers in the early 50s. Fonty, Bob, and Tim.
Think back to the Daytona 500 last year. I mean, Kurt had a great race car down here, and he led a lot of laps. Got caught up in a wreck with Tony Stewart, but nonetheless, they got a good package for here, seems like.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in 13th. Now you only go through the gears here, leaving the pits and entering the pits. But still, Matt, you need to get through them.
Absolutely, Mike. And the issues for Junior, the shifter ball, the threads are stripped. So the ball comes right up off the shifter. His crew members are trying to work a new shifter ball. That way Junior can put it on top of the shifter and then try to secure it with some duct tape. They're working on that right now, so that way they can pass it through the window the next time Dale Jr. hits pit road.
All the technology, all the expense in these cars, these machines that are now worth around $200,000 with a $60,000 engine, and the most common tuning and repair tool, a $5 roll of tape.
It'll work every time.
Plus, what a small problem, but it could make the difference. I mean, you can't shift the car. Got to get in and out of the pits and restart.
We're getting a report that both left side tires were down and flat on Mark Martin, the 8 car.
Wow. Sounds to me like they didn't have enough air in them when he went out. You know, maybe they had real low air and it went in the corner and just kind of rolled them off.
One of the cars that has been hard up against it, the outside wall that is, several times this week, has been Clint Boyer. And it appears today is not an exception. Let's watch from the DirecTV blimp. Watch the 07 on your left, up high. Yep.
That's basically the same thing that happened to him in practice. He ran up on another car really fast, didn't have anywhere to go, elected not to hit the car, go to the outside and scrape the wall.
Just up in that no zone, Darrell, right after the dip for the turn 4 tunnel. That's where you'll see all those Daytona stripes of rubber marks on the wall.
And he's backed off and got his wheels turned and everything else, but those cars have a little bit of a mind of their own when they get up there like that.
Well, I know one thing. We ran 79 laps, caution free. They got strung out a little bit, but I believe business is picking up now that we're 10 laps before the halfway. A car I've been watching in this group, he has been awfully strong all week long. He kind of fell back at the start of the race. He's in that outside line. Kurt Busch's teammate, Ryan Newman, in that 12 car. Penske, Roger Penske, has never won a restrictor plate race with the exception of a Budweiser shootout one time with Rusty Wallace.
Well, and the other cars that I think, Larry, that we've kind of wondered about and worried about somewhat is are the Roush cars and Roush Fenway cars. And if you look to that outside line, that yellow car coming up through there looks pretty racy too with his teammate in tow.
Speaking of looking racy, 3 wide through the tri-oval, and the tri-oval is far from being straight.
It's the hardest place on this racetrack, believe it or not. It's 18 degrees of banking, and you're running just as fast through here as you do through these 31-degree banks.
David Gilliland, former pole sitter for the 500, made an unscheduled pit stop. He's back out on track, and Mark Martin's team reports that Martin ran over debris with both left side tires, and that's what cut them down.
If you look at the back of this pack right here, remember Sam Hornish had to pit road unexpectedly on lap 58. Elliott Sadler in the 19 on lap 69. They got the caution they needed, and now they're caught back up right here in the lead pack.
Wow, that middle groove is a tough place to be. Junior fights for room and fights the wheel, and they almost all got together 4 wide coming into the tri-oval.
Somebody had to give there. And Carl Edwards in the 99 said, "No more, boys."
I don't feel too good about this.
That's the tensest moment we've had in 92 laps of racing so far.
Strung them out, though.
Junior in the 88 comes up on Newman. Things get a little dicey.
Looked like Hamlin really wiggled in the 11 car on late exit of 4, but look at that right there. That will not work, boys.
I used to think that, Larry.
Somebody definitely had to give there.
Then I got up here and I thought, that works just fine, thank you.
Kurt Busch, who's broken and hit the wall and had trouble all week long and had to start last. He's now first.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Pepsi Stuff, where every sip gets you closer to great stuff.
Closed captioning sponsored by PepsiCo Enable, employees dedicated to a more inclusive environment for people with different abilities.
Well, there's something in that shot I'd sure like to have had about 20 years ago, and it's that little thing right there. It's an air conditioner.
The Busch brothers have traded the lead. 2 laps ago, Kyle took the lead from older brother Kurt as Jeff Gordon looked on. Remember, Kurt Busch in the number 2 did not come in during the last round of pit stops.
And I think we'll see out of him what we've seen out of some others. Once he gets shaken out of the lead pack there without those good tires on, it might hurt him.
You know, a guy we have not talked about today, but right now we've actually got Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. He's starting to drop back all the way back to 30th. Dick, what's going on with Jimmy Johnson?
Well, Larry, the car is way, way loose. The crew had been on the wall anticipating a pit stop, but he just said that he can hang on to it, so they've come off the wall. No pit stop right now, but Johnson with an extremely loose car.
You know, not that many pole setters have ever won this race. What, I think it's 9, Mike?
9 times, 7 different drivers. 9 times the pole sitter has won the 500. Now in 2 laps, we'll get the halfway sign. The leader at halfway has not won the Daytona 500 since Davey Allison in 1992.
1992. And that was a dogfight that day. It almost didn't work out racing for that halfway money. But you know, I just had talked about Ryan Newman in that 12 car, and he's been working that inside. He had been looking for his teammate Kurt Busch, and now he's worked his way up into the outside line. Now he's back down to the bottom, pretty much without a lot of help down there.
I think you know the reason you do that, if that's your teammate, you run over behind him so he can see you, and then you dive out and go on, because you want to say, well, I tried to help you.
But look at those Roush Fenway Fords behind him. Greg Biffle in that 16 car got his first career win here in a July race a few years ago. He's tucked up the rear bumper of Ryan Newman in the 12.
I've just been watching those guys creep up into the picture. And this racetrack today is hot and slick as it is, a lot like the 4th of July. That's when Biffle won down here.
Jeff Gordon was watching them too, Darrell, and he has now dropped to the bottom. He'll pick up Newman, number 12 in the draft, to try to get by Kyle Busch.
Now here's what's going to happen. Notice turns 1 and 2 when we get a shot of it here in a little bit. Shaded. As this track cools down, that bottom groove will get better and better and better. Oh, you see Jeff wiggle right there?
And here comes Newman.
Newman's going to take advantage of it. Boy, Gordon just slid up in front of Kurt Busch that 2. We're looking back at Busch right now.
Boy, Jeff lost so much momentum. He had to squeeze up a little bit, and he's lucky he didn't get run over. See how the track is shading up as we go down toward turn 1?
Darrell, I think what's happening to Kurt Busch, you talked about it, now he's seeing the disadvantage of being on those little bit older tires.
That's a short-term gain and a long-term loss.
About half of the commercial inventory for this Daytona 500 feature Sprint Cup Series drivers. And one of the funniest in front of the camera is Ryan Newman. He's got a great wry sense of humor. It comes through, and he's trying to come through for the lead right now.
Now, I got some good news. That's the shade in turn 1 and 2. But I got some bad news, too. That's the sun in your eyes coming off of turn 4. As the sun goes down, these drivers have a hard time for a little while being able to see what's in front of them because it gets a real glare on the windshield.
All right, Kyle Busch has led the halfway lap. You have to go back to Davey Allison to find a winner who led it halfway when they used to pay a $10,000 bonus, and that used to be a lot of money to these teams. There's no halfway bonus anymore. We'll see if history can repeat itself.
There's a big old bonus in 99 laps, though. It's about $1.6 million to win this race.
Watch the sun here as we come off turn 4 now, guys. As these drivers come off turn 4, start to look down this little straightaway here, headed for the travel. Watch this. Where'd everybody go? Where'd everybody go? I can't. Oh, there they are.
And what makes it even a more disadvantage, the spotters.
A little bit slick in and off.
The spotters are right above us. The spotter really can't help you coming off turn 4 because they're coming straight at you.
Several of the teams told us they place a second spotter up in turn 4 for that reason.
Now, if you've anticipated that, and I love that word because that's what racing's all about, you've got a little extra tape on that windshield for this period of the race.
Big move down the inside. Boy, Jeff Gordon got a run. Kurt Busch trying to push him up there with Newman.
Jeff Gordon was the rock between two hard places right there.
The meat between the Penske sandwich.
Son.
5 o'clock traffic jam in Daytona Beach. 190 miles an hour. And Kyle Busch way out in front of it.
Look at that.
That is a good lead to have at most racetracks, except here.
Wonder why they're letting him do that.
Kyle Busch running down a dream with 97 laps to go.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there. By Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coke taste. 0 calories. Enjoy Cokeness. By Radio Shack, where you don't just buy stuff, you do stuff. And by Semi-Pro, starring Will Ferrell, Woody Harrelson, and Andre Benjamin. In theaters February 29th.
Teammates trying to take the lead in Daytona. Look on the inside. 17 of Matt Kenseth and 16 Greg Biffle, 2 of the Roush Fenway Fords. We're drafting along together trying to take the lead from Kyle Busch, as our aerial coverage is brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years.
Got to tell you, it's going to be hard to get by that Toyota, the way that thing runs.
But I tell you, Greg Biffle in that 16 car, he has been trying to push his teammate, Matt Kenseth, to the lead, and he'll take it down the back straightaway. A Ford has not led. Look at Kurt Busch in the 2 car all the way into the infield grass.
If Kenseth can hold it around to the line at lap 107, 7 laps past halfway, a Ford will lead the 500 for the first time today.
And we've all said all week long, for most part, what's wrong with those cars, but I don't think it must be anything wrong with them the way they're running right now. They just need a long way to get going.
Oh, car 2 got into the back of Earnhardt Jr. Now, Denny Hamlin was right in the middle of that. Here's what he saw.
Still outside, still there.
Oh, that's what happened. Dale Jr. moved over, and here comes kind of bad timing. Junior moves just about the time. Looked like Kurt was going to go around too, and all of a sudden off the track.
Matt?
Mike, Kevin Harvick just keyed his mic and he says, did you just see that? The 2 just went through the grass. And his spotter says, I saw that. He goes, I know, he just went through the grass.
You know, I know Harvick's got a future in television, just not yet.
Now Greg Biffle in that 16 car, he wants to lead this Daytona 500. He's got to get a push from Kyle Busch in the 18. Now Brian Vickers in the 83 car, remember, one of those cars that had to pit right after the restart. He's 1 lap down, trying to stay the first car lap down to get the free pass should we get a caution.
Biffle needed to lead only 1 lap, as did Kenseth. You get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and the driver who leads the most laps gets 5 more bonus points. And right now, that driver is Kyle Busch, who finished 2nd here Friday night and 2nd in yesterday's 300 mile.
Now we're getting within about that 10 to 12 lap window of what would be green flag pit stops, and it can get interesting when they're bunched up like this, because right now we have about 24 cars within 2.5 to 3 seconds of each other.
But you see what that last caution flag did for this race? I mean, it was all strung out, and they made green flag stops, got worse. But this last one gave everybody a chance to work on their car, fix some of the issues that they had, and man, we've tightened this field up considerably.
Adjustments are fixing issues. The track is cooling down. It gains grip. That fixed handling issues for a lot of cars.
36 cars of 43 starters still on the lead lap. Pit stops coming as Kyle Busch leads them around Daytona on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Gillette. Feel phenomenal with Gillette Fusion Power Phenom, the only razor used by the Gillette Young Guns.
114 of 200 laps complete in Daytona. Kyle Busch, who has never finished better than 23rd in the Daytona 500, has led the most laps, 49 of them, and continues to pace this field over Greg Biffle, while that 83 of Brian Vickers is 1 lap down. Ryan Newman is third, 0.7 of a second back, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his new number 88 is fourth. Jr. may become the 11th driver to win the Budweiser Shootout and his Gatorade Duel, but not the 500. It happened to his dad 3 times. It happened to him in '03 and to Tony Stewart last year. Matt?
Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr., like a number of drivers in the field, wearing a tinted tear-off on his clear shield. He told his spotter, TJ Majors, he goes, with all the clouds, I'm not really sure if the sun has gone down or if the sun is just being shaded by the clouds. So let me know when the sun goes down so I can take my tear-off off.
I'll tell you one thing. He's got his hands full, I can tell you that. Watch this. We're looking in the car coming off turn 4. That thing gets a little bit slide on him, gets a little slide on him. Look at him. Whoop, whoop. That's a whoop, whoop.
It's a little hospital hop there almost, a dee-dah-do.
Yeah, a little dee-dah-do, a little turkey walk, something like that.
And again, we're in about 6 to 8 laps, I think, of what will be scheduled pit stops for all these cars.
Now this is just the start of the Sprint Cup season on Fox. Next week, we're out in Fontana, California. It's the Auto Club 500, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. First time that this Car of Today platform has been in use out at the California Speedway. Matt Kenseth, the defending winner of the Auto Club 500.
And they will have no problem running 3 and 4 wide there either, I promise you.
And they go off in the corner there at 2:10.
Very fast.
Reed Sorensen giving Casey Mears the boot in the 5. That's a good thing. They're running 18th and 19th.
Now that 41 in that 2 car, remember, they stayed out the last caution. That should be 2 of the first cars to hit pit road as we get toward the end of this run here on those green flag stops.
Tell you who's popped up into the top 5 is Clint Boyer. Finished 3rd in the chase last year for what's now the Sprint Cup Championship. Driving that 07, scored his first career victory at New Hampshire last July. He's moved up into the top 5.
Well, maybe Dylan's right. You know, he bounced her off the wall in practice yesterday, and they bounced it off the wall a little bit earlier there. Maybe he's narrowed it up where it's faster now.
And remember, he finished 18th here last year in the 500. Oh, by the way, on his roof across the start-finish line.
Yeah, on fire.
Here's Matt.
And Mike, the 07 of Clint Boyer, like you mentioned earlier, he's tagged the wall. He's done it now 5 times during speed weeks between his Nationwide and Nextel Sprint Cup car. But Boyer says the car just way too tight. That's why he's having to run so high up the racetrack.
You know what about a car? It doesn't matter how your car is to you personally. It's how you are to the rest of the field. And right now he looks pretty good to the rest of the field.
Carl Edwards, Regan Smith, Martin Truex on pit road. Mentioned too that rookie and IndyCar champion, or Indy 500 winner Sam Hornish, still running in the top 10. In 8th place, as are Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, we've got 82 laps to go. We still have every car out on the racetrack and 36 cars on the lead lap.
Kyle Busch the leader, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Clint Boyer your top 5 at 118 laps.
Hey, you're watching the Daytona 500 on Fox. Let's hope I finish right side up this time.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
Only 1 caution flag so far in the 500. Here's Matt Kenseth on pit road. 2 laps ago, 13 cars came in, 11 of them last time. And here are 2 of the Roush Fenway Fords and all the Michael Waltrip Toyotas in. Krista.
Well, Greg Biffle thought he was toast. When everyone came, he said we should have come. But instead, Matt Kenseth came with them. They think they're going to be okay. They're making a track bar and air pressure adjustment for the number 16. Oh, a wrench was stuck. I think they're okay.
Kurt Busch, too fast exiting the pits. There is electronic timing at several loops all up and down pit road. You must maintain that 55-mile-an-hour average in every section, or you are electronically issued a ticket, kind of like photo radar in Phoenix and elsewhere. And Kurt Busch will have to do a drive-through penalty.
Which means he has to come back to pit road. He doesn't have to stop, just maintain that 55 miles per hour the entire distances back out on the racetrack, which will just about put you a lap down.
What that really means is that Mike got a ticket in Phoenix, I think.
Well, it's really in Scottsdale. I shouldn't get folks in Phoenix in trouble, but this right here, pit road, is one place where photo radar works pretty well. How about our leader stop, Steve?
Mike, good stop for Kyle Busch in the 18. He said his car just needed a little bit of grip, that it was just a little bit free. Didn't look like any adjustments on the 18. If they did, it was air pressure, and it was a small one.
Dario Franchitti making his stop. The Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabata's number 40.
Now, we have a couple of Toyotas that had not pitted that stayed out to lead a lap. Michael Waltrip in the 55 led a lap, and then David Ruderman in the 00 stayed with him.
Dario's wife, Ashley Judd, looking on from the pit box at her husband's Daytona 500 debut.
She's a home girl. Around home there.
You know, out of all these green flag stops, I think the group that must have had an awesome pit stop, Tony Stewart in that 20 car who just drove by Clint Boyer in the 07, he was outside the top 10, and now he's just moved into 4th place, so a great pit stop by the Home Depot crew.
Yeah, I just really think Tony was having a handling problem. He's waiting for a pit stop to kind of tighten his car up, and they did the same thing yesterday and came to the front and won the race, so it doesn't surprise me that they did that today.
What we saw last year with Jimmy Johnson's team and Chad Knaus was that car always finished the race running better than when it ran at the start of the race. Could this be Stewart's season to win a 3rd Sprint Cup? Well, let's go down to Shifty and find out what's going on at pit road. Matt.
Well, Mike, a little update on Shiftergate first for Dale Earnhardt Jr. This was the knob that they were going to pass through the window, but they didn't do it on the last stop. Now what they're doing is they're going to a backup for their backup. Basically, they've got another knob, and they're going to put glue inside the knob, then hand it to the window. That way, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. puts it on top of the shifter, the glue hopefully will help keep that knob in place. And meanwhile, an update on the race car. Yes, it was loose, but Tony Eury Jr. made no changes on that last stop.
So they're going to hand him a do-it-yourself kit.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous. If that thing doesn't stay on, you get all that glue on there. Now he gets his hand stuck on the shifter.
$75 laps to go.
You know, a couple of cars that were running well up in the top 10, and they were 2 of the first cars to hit pit road. Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 and Carl Edwards in the 99, and now they're all the way back to 25th and 26th. I just think they didn't have enough cars pitting with them, and they really lost touch with the leaders.
3 Toyotas, 3 Dodges, 2 Chevys, and 2 Fords in the top 10 with 75 laps to go in the Daytona 500 on Fox. Time for an AT&T race break in the Daytona 500.
With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, Kyle Busch, your leader. Ryan Newman running 2nd, Clint Boyer 3rd. Jeff, this race is flying by. Let's get our Sears race summary, and then I want to get your thoughts on what we've seen so far as we see some damage to Denny Hamlin's car. And so far, the lead change is 28. Remember, we only had 13 lead changes in the entire Daytona 500 race last year. Kyle Busch and his Joe Gibbs Toyota has dominated. So the car of now for NASCAR, at least for what we've seen so far, is allowing a number of lead changes.
Yeah, it has so far. I mean, the guys are having to try to learn how to drive the cars, intelligently, let's put it that way. But we have seen that, the dominance of Toyota, but also you can see the pressures being put on, Kyle Busch right now by the 07 car, Clint Boyer. There's a Dodge right there, run back there, the 12 car of Ryan Newman. All of these guys right now are figuring out where they can maybe take advantage of him. You take a look at the 11 car here, Denny Hamlin. Looks like that left rear quarter panel is definitely sticking out, and that is going to be a negative as far as trying to, run up through here and have a really good Hamlin race car.
Yeah, Hamlin 15th and fading, has led 32 laps. A Toyota teammate of the leader, Kyle Busch, so far in this race.
One thing I want to point out right now is we're watching Kyle Busch. He's won a lot of races, but this is the Daytona 500. We may have some trouble on the racetrack right now, you know, watching around the 01 car. He bounced it off the wall. That right there is Regan Smith, one of our Rookie of the Year contenders. Looks like he has definitely flattened the right side of the car, but so far no yellow. Again, a lot of people are kind of like watching and seeing if there's any debris off that 01 car, but so far so good for the rest of the field. But going back to Kyle Busch, when they gang up on him, it's whether or not he can handle the pressure. We've seen he can drive defensively, and that may be his undoing.
We've only had one caution so far. To look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing's Jeff Burton and the 31 Chevrolet. Using CV on your AT&T handset, you can access all the inside RCR content. Let's rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Boy, that was a tense moment for Regan Smith. He just shot up the hill and pasted the safer barrier between turns 1 and 2, but gathered it up, and he has now made it safely to pit road. So we're at 131 laps. Kyle Busch under pressure now from Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman. Let's have a look. You'll see the 0-1 off in the distance.
And that is a hard lick, Mike, but we have said over and over again just how tough this car is on the right side. It's built to take a licking like that and keep on ticking.
Travis Quapple in that 28 car, Yates Racing, just barely made it by. Now with those rash of green flag pit stops from about lap 118 to lap 121, these guys still will have to make it loose at least 2 more pit stops. They can't make it on 1.
Right at 300 of 500 miles complete here in Daytona to start off the Sprint Cup season for 2008. And Kyle Busch, who grew up racing in what we call dwarf cars in his native Las Vegas, as his brother progressed up through the ranks, is now leading the biggest event in stock car racing.
Now we saw these 3 guys working together in the 150s on Thursday. Dale Jarrett was outside the top 35, needed to race his way in, and Michael and his teammate David Rudeman, they all 3 worked together and got Dale in this race. Now they're working together to chase down this lead group up here and doing a pretty good job of it.
If they stay lined up like that, that's the fastest they're going to run. And that lead group, they keep mixing and matching up there.
Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Clint Boyer and Greg Biffle seem to be content to let Kyle Busch lead for a while. The 22-year-old has been out front for 68 circuits so far. That's more than twice as many as any other driver has led. Time to get down to Jeff Hammond for today's State Farm Safety Report.
Well, today, as you see the sides of these race cars, look how smooth they are. No problem at all so far as the start of the race. But during the course of the race, every now and then you're going to get close to the safer barrier or the outside wall or another race car. Well, in behind this skin, if you'll look, here is some Dow Automotive impact-resistant foam. That is also supported by a carbon fiber piece between the foam and the roll cage. All of this is designed to absorb energy, also to help kind of like keep the shape of this race car in the event it does get close to another one. But the key thing is, in case you get in an accident, absorb that energy so it doesn't get to the driver. And again, protecting our driver is what's important.
Thanks, Jeff. Kyle Busch, the leader. You see his teammate Denny Hamlin on the right of your screen. He may have brushed that wall just a little bit in turn 4 last time by.
That foam's a lot better than them 2x4s we used to stick in there, aren't they?
Yes, it is, but Denny Hamlin is falling like a rock. Remember, he led 32 laps of this race. He's all the way back to 23rd
and he's running over a second slower than our leader, Kyle Busch, and he's about 18 seconds behind. Steve Burns was telling me during break that he's complaining about that car being so loose he can't hang on to it. I'm sure a lot has to do with that piece of left rear quarter panel. You wouldn't think it makes that much difference, but remember, these guys are running almost 190 miles per hour out there.
Now, the NASCAR officials and observers have judged that that flapping fender is not a safety hazard. It's not in danger of coming off the car, but they have told the team they must fix it on their next pit stop. At halfway, which was 40 laps ago, Jimmy Johnson was 29th. He has now moved up into the top dozen.
That's a man that understands got to be around at the finish.
And I tell you, a couple of cars that's running in this pack with Jimmy Johnson that I want to make note of, that AAA car right there, David Reagan in the 6 car. He's been flirting with the top 10, finished 5th here a year ago. And remember, Richard Petty waved the green flag. His driver, Bobby Labonte, in that 43 car, he's been flirting in and out of the top 10 as well.
There's a look at Reagan, second-generation driver from Georgia. Sliding up there in front of Jeff Burton.
Petty cars were pretty good yesterday in the final practice. Both of them, I know that Kyle was up there pretty good, and I think Bobby was too. Both of them in the top 10 on speed. So they've got some speed in these race cars, and that's a good thing.
But you know, back to Jeff's safety report, go back to Regan Smith, that 01 car hitting that wall like he did a while ago. One reason he can make it back around, a little bit of cosmetic work, 2 new tires, a lot has to do with that foam keeping that sheet metal pushed out off them the inside the tires.
Sam Hornish is a rookie in the Daytona 500. He's a winner of the Indy 500, and he's having a great day. Some folks wonder, how does Hornish get into this race on points when the Wood brothers had to go home for the first time ever, and Ken Schrader, after 23 straight 500s. Schrader went home, and Sterling Marlin, after 24 straight, went home. It's because car owner Roger Penske placed 2 cars in the top 35 of what was Nextel Cup points last year, and he chose for this year to use the 12 points and put the 2 points onto this number 77, so Hornish would have a guaranteed spot, and it is his choice to do so with NASCAR's approval. That's what happened. Hornish is in the race, and he's given a great account of himself.
And he's driving like a champion today. Now, Kurt Busch back in 32nd place, he has had all kinds of things happen to him.
We mentioned all 43 cars are still out there on the racetrack. We are hearing that Kenny Wallace in the 87 car has been black flagged. NASCAR has a minimum speed you have to maintain. He was below that minimum speed. He makes that left-hand turn to the garage area.
He will join John Andretti, who, like Wallace, raced his way into the 500. The only 2 cars out of the race right now.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is delivered by UPS. Thanks Dale Jarrett for 7 unforgettable years. It's been a great ride, Dale.
.146 laps complete. Dale Jarrett is in his final Daytona 500 in the number 44. His career will come to a close 5 races into this season. He'll turn over the controls of that car to David Rudiman, move to the broadcast booth, and right now Jarrett, a 3-time winner, running in 18th position.
Kyle Busch continues to lead this thing. He has now led 77 laps. Now, when you think about a Sprint Cup car, NASCAR Sprint Cup car, basically all adjustments have to be made on pit road. There's not a lot that driver can do, but Steve Burns, Kyle Busch, and Steve Addington, they have one little adjustment that Kyle can make from that cockpit.
Yeah, Larry, here's the latest on Kyle Busch in the 18. He just told crew chief Steve Addington, he said, I've had the front and rear fan on since the last stop, but I've turned the front fan off and I'm a little better now. He also said when I lift, meaning off the gas pedal, I get loose.
And what they're doing, they have blowers that's blowing on the tires to keep the air pressure from really building up. So he was a little loose, so he cut those blowers off the front tires to let the air pressure come up a little bit. That tightens the race car up. Great move.
You know what else I think's helped him a lot today? This is not the first day he's raced. He raced Friday night, he raced yesterday. And I tell you, this is one place where laps pay off. Knowing where to be, position, track, where the bumps are. Those are things that he has picked up over the last couple of days that I think is really helping him today.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has not led a lap today yet. The Sprint Cup cars have been following him all week long in the Budweiser Shootout Saturday night and on Thursday. Now, Jeff Gordon won this race, youngest driver to do so at age 25, and he's come back and has 3 Daytona 500 trophies. But Dick Berggren, he is mired in 20th position. What's up?
Well, he may even go further back than that, Mike. He has decided that he wants to just save his tires, so he's going to take it easy on the car, let the car roll back, and try to make a charge at the end of this event.
Well, that's a good strategy, but he's lost the draft. He's all by himself. He was running with this big pack of cars in front of him here, but he's even fallen back out of that pack. You'll lose a second a lap. You'll go a lap down here before long if you're not careful.
We still have 51 laps to go, but contrary to what we were believing coming into this race, we only have one Hendrick car in the top 12, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car.
And there's a look at Hendrick Motorsports, who has all but swept Speed Weeks for the events for the Sprint Cup cars. 150 laps this time, 375 miles in the 50th Daytona 500. Kyle Busch has now led 80 of those laps. His teammate Denny Hamlin 32. The Gibbs cars together have led 120 of 150 laps. Debris in turn 2 puts us under the second caution flag of the day. Pit roads open. Steve.
Mike, Steve Addington, the crew chief on that 18 car, said we're going to drop the air pressure in all 4 tires and a small track bar adjustment. Kyle said, roger that, Krista.
Just a little bit. That's all Tony Stewart needs. He just needs to get the car tightened up. They're making very small adjustments and just a tick of tape added. Matt.
Michael Waltrip slid through his pit, almost went into Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit. Track bar adjustment for Jr. His car was free. Meanwhile, no changes on the 07 of Boyer, Dick.
Well, Casey Payne is all done with his pit stop. He was running in the 8th position, no adjustments to the car. He has pretty much run in the top 10 all day and has had a good car.
Boy, the real winner, Kurt Busch in that 2 car, a little shocked that they maybe went with just 2 tires, but that's what it looks like maybe.
He's liking those old tires.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the new AT&T, your world delivered. By Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history, an American revolution. By Coca-Cola Zero, real Coke taste, 0 calories. Enjoy Cokeness. And by State Farm, great service, great rates. Nobody takes care of you like State Farm.
Second caution flag of the day, 48 laps to go. Debris out there, and this will give Denny Hamlin a chance to fix that rear quarter panel. Let's show you what happened to the 55 of Michael Waltrip coming into his pit way on the left of your screen. Oh, it just slid right through.
Man.
And had to back up. And then when Casey Mears came out of his pit in the 5, he almost collected Kevin Harvick. Watch this. Yikes.
Oh boy.
Brian Vickers gets the free pass. He'll be back on the lead lap when we go back to green. Under the second caution of the day in Daytona, we'll get the restart 1 lap from now, leaving 46 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Kyle Petty along pit stop. Denny Hamlin has fixed his fender. A few more cars coming in to top off. And it's sure been a wild day, a wild week for past champion Kurt Busch. He has led this race after starting last and currently is 30th. He's going to be our All-State Good Hands driver today for this evasive action when Dale Earnhardt Jr. turns down. Kurt Busch had to either hit him or go low. Down there in Cale Yarborough territory, gets a little bit of the grass. Remembering the last lap of the 1979 race, Kurt is today his All-State Good Hands driver. Are you in good hands?
Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, just made the left-hand turn to the garage area. He had been back on pit road. They thought possibly even a shock mount may have been broken. Now he's going to the garage.
Something is broken. They had the hood up on it. I saw him pointing down at something.
Dick.
Well, they were trying to figure out what it was, and when he made that first pit stop, they thought perhaps it was the splitter. They wanted to leave the hood down to get him back out. The splitter was just fine. This time they raised the hood, and apparently one of the brackets on one of the control arms has actually bent. On the last two pit stops, Gordon's right front tire showed signs of significant blistering. We haven't seen that with other cars. He's got a major problem, which is why he is in the garage.
That is huge.
Looking back from the Corvette Z06 pace car and getting set for our Claret and Clear restart. Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again. 32 cars on the lead lap.
Now, that gave Mike Ford and that 11 group an opportunity to fix that left rear quarter panel. We found out what happened to Kurt Busch in the 2. He missed his pits the first time. That's the reason he made all that gain on pit road. Now he's back out there. He's going to restart back in 28th position.
Greg Biffle in a Roush Fenway Ford, who has a July victory here in the Sprint Cup Series. Out in front of Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Biffle's teammate Matt Kenseth fifth.
I believe we'll see some new players too. I think now the track's, the sun's gone down, the track will cool down. A lot of these cars have only been run in the evening. So these guys, I think, will really pick up the pace, and I think you'll see some new sheriffs in town.
As we like to say, I think business about to pick up across the board.
Oh yeah, heart rate going up just a skosh.
Could be a little tough in traffic. They restart double file with cars one or more laps down on the inside. So from about fourth on back, like the blue car of Ryan Newman and this red one of Casey Kane, they've got to pick their way through traffic a bit to get to the leaders.
It's going to take kind of a double whammy, though, for somebody to do some of that 18 car because he is so strong. It's going to have to be, he's going to have to get off a little bit for somebody else to have a shot at him.
Heads up a foundation for homeless animals out in front of the Daytona 500.
That dog, he's in the hunt, I can tell you that.
Yeah, we were talking about the race pace getting up in the mid-high 48s. Now they're back down in the 47-second bracket.
You ain't too bad there. That's the fastest as you've been, even in that draft.
That's what you're going to hear across the board. Speeds will go up, grip's better now. Everybody can run a little bit harder, a little bit more wide open.
A three-time winner and four-time series champion is out of the 500. Kristen.
And the DuPont crew is thrashing down here on the car. Jeff, what happened?
Suspension failure. You know, we saw signs of this when we were testing. We went back to the shop and did everything we could to brace everything up and prevent this from happening. And you know, it's really a product of the type of suspension that we're running on these bump stops. It's just so hard, especially on a track like this. It wasn't safe for us to be out there, and the handling went away, and I didn't know why, because the DuPont Chevrolet was awesome. I mean, I don't know if anybody has anything for that 18 or the 11 before he got the damage, and probably the 20 before it's all over. I hope my teammates certainly do, but we were the only ones I feel like that really could keep up with them and run with them. We were just cruising, but you know, there's definitely a problem, and it probably is not just us.
Jeff Gordon, the season starts with a little heartbreak for the 24.
Four cars single file in front and then three wide as they came through the tri-oval for fifth on back.
We haven't seen anything like this since the start of the race, so we're back to really racing hard now.
But he'll be pretty proud of his one teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. He's right up there in the thick of things. You know, I think we've had some tire issues and they load these right side tires so hard, and then you take the speeds. Jeff Hammond, I think that's why we're starting to see some suspension and chassis failures on some of these cars.
Well, Larry, definitely everything is cooling down. The speeds, like you say, are going to come up. The tires are getting a lot more grip. And the big load that he's talking about, probably with the suspension, when they're talking about the A-frame area, has to be in this area right here. You see the A-frame. This is the yellow part here on our chassis. Right in here where this bolt is what connects it to the chassis. Here are the gussets that hold it in place. Now, what this means, folks, is that when you put static camera into place with these shims, you're expecting that to work up and down. If this starts to bend in, which is probably what's happening, all of a sudden the camber gain's going to change. You're going to wear the right front tire out, and you're going to have a serious safety situation, because these right front tires cannot take that kind of abuse. And as the speeds go up, we may see some more of that, Larry.
Thanks, Jeff. That's exactly what Steve Letarte and Jeff Gordon are discussing right now. You talked about business picking up. On the last lap, 9 of the top 20 drivers just ran their individual fastest lap of this race so far.
Trouble off turn 4 here. We got a big one.
David Reagan hard into the wall in that AAA car.
We got about 5 or 6 cars that went down pit road, and I don't know, Matt Kenseth has some damage, but that's amazing if we only have 2 cars with damage.
Reagan, who finished 5th in his first 500 1 year ago, takes a hard hit, and his Roush Fenway teammate Matt Kenseth ends up with the worst of it.
And both of those cars were up in the top 10.
Somebody talk to me.
Kenseth coming back up pit road, either to his pit or the garage area. Watch the number 6 and 17, middle of your screen.
6 just comes up from the bottom, and I think he must have hoped, because he sure wasn't hoping that Matt would cut him some slack, but that's 2 team cars, and I think Reagan hoped that Matt may give him a little break.
Darrell, did it almost look like that he had no control over the car going up there? It looks like it was just in a slide up there to some degree.
Kenseth has gone to the garage.
That's just, this is just so typical the way a race goes. You race, you race, you race, ride, you ride, you ride. But then when it comes down to showtime and the money time, this is what happens.
With 100 miles to go, David Reagan's car litters the front straightaway. Now will be open this time.
The pit should be open. Mark Martin and Yates will get the free pass back on lead lap. I think pit road will be a busy place with a lot of strategies, because this actually puts us where we can make it to the end of the race should we go caution free, which is very doubtful.
No, I don't think so. That'd be pretty optimistic at this point.
But here they come, all but Dale Earnhardt Jr., who actually stayed out.
Steve.
Well, Mike, Kyle Busch says that his car is fine. He said, I don't need a lot of help to the 18. It's a little bumpy over the bumps, but just 4 tires. Krista.
Tony Stewart coming in for a 2-tire change.
I like the 2-tire strategy. We only have 6 laps on our tires, and now we're full of fuel. Interesting, though, Tony Eury Jr. leaving Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that ADA out. He's banking on another caution.
Well, did you see who led the pack off pit road? Here's our DirecTV race off. Dave Blaney picked up 10 spots.
Tells me maybe just a little fuel only.
Haven't said much about old Blaney. He's kind of been laying back, I think.
38 laps to go.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota, moving forward. By Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. By Viagra. And by Amp Energy. For energy, focus, and control, amp yourself.
Yeah, it's a big deal, man. 50th anniversary Daytona 500. Download 24 up high. Closer, get going fast. I cannot drive this thing at all. He is just asking for trouble. I thought Elliott said his car wasn't very good. Looks pretty good to me.
.37 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not stop under this caution period. He's the race leader. When everyone else came in, let's find out why he stayed out. Matt.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., a lonely man, the only one to stay out. Tony Eury Jr., it was your call. Why'd you keep your man out?
I mean, just for basically track position. I think we can make it on fuel. These guys ain't done. I mean, they've been too good all day, so we'll just see what happens. I mean, I think I'd rather be up in track position. It looks big. I mean, I don't know if we got anything for the 18 and the 20, but we're sure going to give it a shot.
Now, here's the scenario. They pitted with 48 laps to go under caution. We went back to green with 45 to go. We know that's well within the fuel window. He only had 6 laps on his tires, and remember, every caution lap right now is cooling that set of tires down, and it's 2 cautions to 1 green flag lap. I think they can definitely make it from here.
You know what? I would feel really confident that if you and Jeff were sitting on my pit box and you made that call, just like I know Tony does, with Brian in there and Darian in there helping him make that call, they got it covered.
Yep, I think so.
But Derek, guys, we've seen this move before. Remember, they finally stretched it out during the Budweiser shootout. They have been ones all week long to kind of go the distance on their tires more than anybody else. So if 2 guys are in sync, I'd have to believe that Tony Eury Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have got a battle plan, and they're where they want to be right now with basically 36 laps to go.
Plus, he needed to lead a lap.
5 points.
That's right. Now, Kyle Busch did not come out of the pits with Tony Stewart or Dave Blaney up toward the front.
And a lot because of all the different strategies. Fuel only, a lot of 2-tire stops, and of course Dale Earnhardt Jr. staying out.
Well, boys, let's just sit back and see what happens. What do you say?
What did I tell you? You better reach up there and pull those belts tight for sure now.
One more time.
So Kyle Busch, who has led the most laps today, will restart 11th. And let's crank it up on the 3rd restart of the day. Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings him off turn 4 and back to the line. 33 laps to go. His favorite drafting partner, Tony Stewart, tried to get to him but couldn't. Blaney held on to the back of Earnhardt, and now it's Casey Kane and Clint Boyer up there.
Well, Blaney's had a good week here in that car. He ran well in the Bud shootout. He ran well in his qualifying race. It doesn't surprise me to see him up there.
Blaney's number 22 has Toyota's best ever finish in the series. 3rd at Talladega last fall.
We were just riding with Casey Kane in that 9 car. He's getting a little help from Tony Stewart in the 20. You can see Dale Earnhardt Jr. put the block on the back straightaway.
Got too much help from Tony Stewart that time. He got him sideways. These cars have a really, really fast closing rate. They got so much more power than they had before. You got to really be careful running in the back of somebody.
There's Blaney, number 22. Trying to hang on to Clint Boyer and the race leader, Earnhardt.
All I know is this race is 168 laps old. You heard Steve Burns talk about it in the pre-race. Over 200,000 people here. They're all standing right now.
Tell you what, I don't have many nerves left, and they're starting to get on top of all those now.
John Andretti's back in the race. Jeff Gordon back in the race. 11 laps down. Matt Kenseth. has come out of the garage 5 laps down. Here they come after Earnhardt.
And there goes Kyle Busch in an 18 car up the middle with help from Ryan Newman in the 12. He wants to lead back.
Oh, he's going to come to the front, Larry. There's no question about that. He's checkers or wreckers. That's his deal. And he's got a horse. My goodness, he's got a fast race car.
New leader, Casey Kane.
By 1/100th of a second, he led that lap.
100th? That's plenty. David Reagan was checked over at the infield care center and released after crashing to bring out that caution at lap 162. He's okay.
That 3 wide off turn 2, yeah, it's plenty wide enough. Look at Kyle Busch. Just go to the outside.
Boy, that was a power move. There's old moves and there's bold moves. That was a bold move.
He just puts it wherever he has to, man. Just give me a, like I said, if he sees a half a car, a half a hole, he puts the rest of it in there.
We have got business picking up all over the place.
This looks like the start of the race.
But speaking of bold moves, look at Tony Stewart in his 20 car. He got a push by Greg Biffle. He'll lead that lap.
Oh, I hear thunder. I hear thunder. I think there's a storm brewing, boys. I hear thunder.
It's not Garth Brooks either.
No.
Thunder rolls, but Stewart just led for the second time today.
Now they're catching Matt Kenseth in the 17 car that's back out on the racetrack. We're riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting that push from Casey Kane, the Budweiser car.
Boy, Junior and Tony Stewart, now they love, oh, Tony goes up the hill.
He got him loose, Darryl.
Got him loose right under him, got up under him and sent him up the hill. He'll pull back over here. I'll help you out, buddy. I'm sorry.
Play nice, boys.
But look at Earnhardt Jr. use that side draft off Matt Kenseth, a slower car.
Kenseth gets way out of the way.
I don't blame him.
Stewart wants the lead back. And I think Dale owed him one after that little dust up in turn 4.
But that's a neat thing about this car and this engine package, man. You can pass, you got power, you can slingshot, you can push. They match up good. You get a good hard push down the back. Now this is what happened to Tony right here. He gets right up under the back of him and just got him a little bit loose, shot him up the hill. But the good thing about this car with that wing on the back of it, Mike, Larry, you know this, we've seen it all week. The car doesn't really want to spin out. It just wiggles a lot.
Here he comes, though, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 car. He's back to the lead.
And the Pied Piper of restrictor plate racing's out front. I wonder if he and Tony are just having a little fun with each other here.
Nah, not for the Daytona 500. It's all business now. It's all serious stuff.
We have had 35 lead changes, but that's at the start-finish line. That doesn't count all the western way around this 2.5-mile track. Oh, look, Reed Sorensen, I believe. No, Casey Kane in the 9 sideways on the back straightaway.
Where the heck was he going, Larry?
Well, he just got shuffled out of the deck, Darryl.
But you can recover so nicely with this car.
Oh, Elliott Sadler got into the side of Sam Hornish, 77. Everybody straightens up, though.
This gives a whole new meaning to bobbing and weaving, I can tell you that. I'm about to break my fingers squeezing my hand so hard.
This is the kind of racing 175,000 plus came here to see today.
This is what we knew we would see. Trust me, as David Hill, our boss, said, we will remember this race.
Stewart Earnhardt, NASCAR's favorite drafting duo at the restrictor plate tracks. They're out in front. But the straw that's going to stir this drink is sitting there in 3rd place, 22-year-old Kyle Busch.
Let's take a breath. Wait, I need a break.
He's old enough to be experienced, maybe young enough not to know what he can't do with that car.
Oh, where'd they go? Off of 2, off of 2.
Jimmy Johnson goes around Martin Truex. Johnson had been stuck in the middle coming by the start-finish line, what we call the sucker hole, and backing up. And he got turned around coming off turn 2 to bring out the 4th caution flag of this Daytona 500.
That wasn't exactly the storm I thought was going to happen.
No, we got hit. I can't see him. He's behind the wall.
Got Hornish underneath of Jimmy here. Let's see if Hornish gets up into him. Now, you know, Jimmy got loose. I don't think Hornish had anything to do with that. Jimmy just got snapped loose.
Denny Hamlin, the 11, he's going to have some damage.
Fourth caution of the day. Pole sitter Jimmy Johnson gets loose and is collected by rookie Sam Hornish. Around goes Johnson and Truex. The pits are open. 5 of the leaders stayed out. Everybody else comes to pit road, Steve.
Mike, right sides only for Kyle Busch. That's what crew chief Steve Addington said. They've also made an air pressure adjustment to those tires. Krista.
As soon as the caution came out, Tony Stewart said, I've got to come, Zippy. I've got to get tires. I cannot win like this. They're also going to tighten up the car besides putting on 4 tires.
Saw Kyle Busch make his first miscue of the day. He overshot his pit. You are not allowed to have your car stop on the white line that marks the end of your pit box. They had to push him back, and that cost him some time. You see, he lost 1 spot on pit road.
I've said all afternoon, the only way you're going to beat that 18 car is he's got to beat himself. And that was a little bit of a miscue right there. Got her locked up, slide, and whoops.
They're not allowed to start working on the car until now, till he gets back into his own pit box. There are the cars involved in the crash. Everyone is okay. And we'll be back to the Daytona 500 on Fox after this. Here's a group of cars getting ready to pit. The cars in the outside lane look like they're going to follow the pace car around and not come down pit road on this last round of stops. And suddenly, oops, there goes Stewart. There goes Kyle Busch. Junior stays out as if he meant to. Did he?
Personally, I think if you said the last time it's good to stay out, got to be good to stay out this time.
Well, here's the thing. They have 16 laps on their tires. And you know when you have your breakfast and you look at your bacon and you talk about how that pig was committed to that breakfast, they are committed now to go to the end, Jeff Hammond.
Hey, I don't go with that, guys. He knows he needs tires. Tony Stewart right now just snookered him and going to take advantage of it. It's going to cost him in the end.
Green flag. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle and Juan Pablo Montoya, new players in town.
That's the 6 cars that stayed out. So he has 5 cars behind him, but we've got 20 laps to go, which, like Jeff says, is a lot of racing here at Daytona.
If everybody does what I think they're going to do, they'll all kind of line up and play the, okay,
Simmons getting a big push here.
We got a bunch of good cars behind us. Let's keep them back there and let's don't race. We're coming down to the closing lower, 20 laps to go. They don't want these Toyotas to get back up there.
For the lead, Clint Boyer brings his Richard Childress Chevrolet to the front.
All right, we're in the front there, clear.
Newman follows.
Stay focused.
Burton, Biffle, Montoya, and the number 9, the red car, is the first car with fresh tires. That's Casey Kane.
Now, all those cars like Boyer, Newman, Burton, and Biffle, they pitted under the last caution. So even though they stayed out this caution, they still have fresher tires than Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Bad plan or miscue?
A lot of radio traffic under that caution. Mike Jr.'s been complaining about radio issues. They were going back and forth between the spotter and Tony Jr., Dale Jr., and they passed by the commitment cone, and when everyone stopped talking, Jr. said, well, they're pitting. And Tony Jr. said, I was going to tell you to pit, but everybody was jabbering. It is what it is now.
Too many voices.
Yeah, well, that's the downside to having 3 guys or so on top of that pit box, even though they're all smart guys.
But even with the problem in the pits, there comes Kyle Busch in that 18 car. He's already back up to about the 8th position, pushing Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Oh, my gosh.
18 laps to go.
Did you see what Busch did? He dove out from behind Casey Kane, drop kicked Jr. He is on a mission, man. I would get out of his way if it were me.
That's the 18. Down on the inside, that M&M's car, right behind Montoya.
Just wait, it'll be the one that pops out of line here when you get down the corner.
That Boyer in that 07, he's driving out of that mirror right now, but there comes his teammate, Jeff Burton, in the 31 on the high side.
Boy, I tell you, Montoya better look out.
Now the first car on fresh tires is Kyle Busch in the 18. 3 wide.
Look at that. I love this
Oh,
shot.
Stewart.
Great shot.
Contact.
Oh, round goes.
There goes
Boyer.
Boyer. 7.
Hang on to it. Just hold it. Nobody's down there with you. Go, turn left. Turn left. There we go.
Caution.
All right. We'll be fine. We'll get some tires. No problem.
Okay, you want to pit this time, Larry?
I believe we are no longer committed.
That's a great story. We'll get to it in a second. Watch the 07 of Clint Boyer battling his teammate Jeff Burton for the lead, and Hello Newman on the outside.
Montoya dives to the inside there. I tell you, Montoya had to go, though. He had Kurt Busch up his back bumper. And I'm telling you, when I saw what was going on there, I knew something had to give.
Did you tell the whole story about the chicken and the pig? Junior Johnson, the 1960 winner of the Daytona 500. Early in NASCAR's history, Bill France, Big Bill, wanted Junior to run the whole series for points to be the national champion, or at least contend for it. Junior just wanted to run the big paying races. He said, Junior, you've got to run this whole series. You're committed. And Junior Johnson said, when you sit down to a breakfast of bacon and eggs,
the chicken is dedicated, but the pig is committed.
A hard break for Clint Boyer as he goes around off the bumper of former Formula One ace Juan Pablo Montoya.
Boy, can't have much luck here late in the Daytona 500. Last year he was sliding down through here about like that, except he turned over. Again, kudos to that wing on the back of that car. Kept that thing from getting out of going crazy. Kind of wondered about that thing.
Boyer continues. He is okay. Our Home Depot Ask the Pros page on foxsports.com is a one-of-a-kind interactive experience. NASCAR fans, you can ask Darrell, Larry Mack, or Jeff NASCAR-related questions and get answers instantly. Just go to foxsports.com/askthepros.
Now, the last time by, pit road was still closed. I know you saw Clint Boyer come to pit road to get those 4 tires. I'm sure he had some tires that were flat, and the penalty for that has started to tail into the longest line.
Quickie yellow, pit road will be open. This is what they're racing for. Harley Earl was the chief stylist of General Motors through the 50s and into the 60s. One of his dream cars was the Firebird. He presented a model of the Firebird to his good friend Bill France, and that became the trophy for the Daytona 500. The permanent trophy is on display here with the names of all the winners of 49 years, and this year's winner will take home that golden trophy. There's the permanent trophy behind it, emblematic of the age of horsepower in Detroit and of the winner of the Great American Race. Couple of quick cautions pretty much change everything. Ryan Newman now out front of the Daytona 500 behind the Corvette safety car. Kyle Busch has been the best car all day and into the evening here in Daytona. Tony Stewart's been fast with him. Other drivers have had their chance up front, Darrell. How do you beat Busch?
Well, first of all, there's some players up here we haven't talked about much all afternoon, and that's kind of how this race goes. How you beat him? Well, he got trapped back here in the traffic, and I thought, well, maybe he can't get through, but you're not going to stop this kid. He's on a mission. He's going to end up in victory circle, or he's going to end up on the hook, one or the other.
Larry Jr. gets tires on this caution flag. Can he get back to the front?
There's an awful lot of cars on the lead lap.
Tough.
Over 30 cars, and there's not a long way to go. And I don't think we're finished with cautions, but what I see, we have so many guys up there. They've never won the Daytona 500, and I think it's going to be big here.
Chris and Jeff, we're getting down to it.
81 races since Ryan Newman won his last race. No Daytona 500. The last time when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won, finishing right behind him in 2004, was Tony Stewart. But Junior's gone 62 races without a win. We have 15 laps to go. You think we're going to see some more cautions?
Well, I think we're going to see some more cautions because right now everybody realizes this is the one shot that you're going to get to win the Daytona 500, especially the 50th running of it. So I believe right now you better, as they say, Larry likes to say, you better pull them belts tight one more time. If you're thinking about going to the grocery store, going to the refrigerator, don't, because it's going to get wild, and it's definitely going to be woolly, and everybody's going to be trying to block that 18 car, and in the process of trying to keep him in the back, you're going to trigger something. Dale Jr. may wind up back in the best position yet, Chris, because he did, have an off-sequence pit stop, because the guys at the front are definitely going to be running over top of each other.
It's been so exciting lately. Our gopher cam has gone underground. We hope he resurfaces here. Just a quick recap. Kurt Busch, who led the most laps last year, his brother Kyle has led the most in this race, gets nudged to the grass, actually led a few laps earlier in this race. Jeff Gordon, 3-time winner, suspension problems, and out of this race with about 55 laps to go. Frustration for Jeff Gordon. And here,
that's what happens with teammates right now. David Reagan in the 6 car, he gets loose off of turn 4, goes up, catches the 17 car, Matt Kenseth, puts both of these guys right here behind the wall.
A couple of Roush Fenway Fords out of the picture, and the teammates of Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. as Jimmy Johnson, back-to-back champion, into trouble. And then moments ago, Clint Boyer was hanging around the top, the leaderboard, most of this day with a little nudge and slides to bring out the most recent caution. But again, Kyle Busch leading 86 laps. In the last 3 races, he's led the most laps. He has failed to win. In fact, the last 4 Daytona 500s, the driver who has led the most laps has failed to win the race.
And right now, you're looking at a guy that's definitely hungry in Ryan Newman and a man who knows how to win big ones in Juan Pablo Montoya.
There's the gopher cam. Let's head back up to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
One of the great things about this sport, the fans can listen to the drivers and the spotters and the crew chiefs during the race. There's no stealing signals here. We can let everybody in on, let's say, Tony Stewart's strategy.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, bud.
Can you roll the bottom when we get a big suck, or can you change lanes to the corner?
I can't do like you can, but I can run the bottom.
All right, simple. Just trying to compensate or figure out what, you know, if we get a good run down the back, they protect the bottom. If I can change lanes going in, and you're going.
I can run the top, but I mean, I'm better on the bottom, I believe. I just can't. There's no way in hell I can change lanes as quick as you can right now.
10-4, you free or tight?
There ain't nobody out there that can do that. I can just hear
Exactly.
today.
That wasn't just Tony Stewart. That was Tony on the Common Channel talking to Kyle Busch.
Yeah, they're talking strategy, and that's pretty cool. I like that. But look at these names at the top of the board. Ryan Newman, Montoya, Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle. Got the guys up here that have been up here all night long, and here they are.
Here's our Clareton, clear to drive restart. Green flag is in the air. 14 laps to go.
Yeah, Darrell, only have 2 drivers in the top 25 that have won the Daytona 500, Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Ryan Newman, the Purdue University engineering graduate who came out of USAC's Silver Crown. Buddy Baker spotted him at a race in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. He and car owner Roger Penske had a discussion, and Baker became Newman's tutor on how to race these super speedways.
And this thing is just setting up. Look at that. There goes Burton up the outside in the Childress car. Gets blocked. This thing is setting up like it did last year, Larry, where you got all these cars racing for the win, and I got a feeling it's going to get pretty hairy here off turn 4 before it's over.
And Kyle Busch in that 18 thought for a moment about going to the middle, but he dove to the outside right in front of teammate Tony Stewart. 12 to go this time.
Well, Larry, we heard him talking about want to help each other, try to take advantage of my teammate here, but Tony's already said, I can't go where you can go.
Ryan Newman just cannot make that car wide enough in the 12. Jeff Burton in the 31. He's going to take the lead through turn 2.
Kyle Busch
to the bottom,
right
to the
behind
top.
Biffle. Stewart is with him. Teammates ganging up as we come down to 10 to go. 4 wide. Good grief.
There
Look
comes
at that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car.
I mean, it looks like a traffic jam. Oh, Mo, Blaney's up the hill. Blaney's in trouble.
And in the wall off Mark Martin.
Took Martin with him.
Caution.
Golly gee.
Dave Blaney, who has Toyota's best finish in Sprint Cup racing.
Dadgum, boys, we're in a tight place.
Got up in the fence and got smacked by last year's runner-up, Mark Martin. Now, for the restart. They no longer race to the flag.
Stop and come down pit road.
In fact, they no longer race at all. When the yellow comes out,
I got nothing.
the field is time-stamped, and the restart order is determined by not the next, but the last scoring loop that each car crossed before the caution came out.
You just can't race like this. I mean, you can't get this many cars going in a turn at one time and not expect something to happen here. Blaney gets a little tap from Montoya, sends him up the hill right into Mark Martin. There's the 11 car. He got in it, 15 spins. Oh, well, half spins.
we're very lucky, again, we didn't have more cars involved in that one, that's for sure.
And folks, you haven't watched these cars all week long. That wing, these cars will get a little sideways, and that wing will push them right back into line.
But Montoya was in the middle, really going backwards. Actually, he got a bump from Kevin Harvick in the 29, and that sent him up the racetrack. That's who we're riding with.
Right, it was Harvick, not Montoya, that put Blaney in harm's way. Denny Hamlin got a piece of that. Just a big accordion reaction behind Blaney. Here's the bump from 29, Harvick. Then he goes up the hill and into Mark Martin.
He just shot Blaney in the corner so hard he couldn't keep it on the bottom, got him a little loose, and up the hill he went.
Just the accordion effect from there.
Yeah, he went across the nose of Montoya.
Travis Kvapil in it, and for the second time, J.J. Yaley dodges one and stays out of harm's way. This will put David Gilliland back on the lead lap. He was the first car one lap down. He gets the free pass.
And I have to use our favorite expression, obviously, folks. Cautions breed cautions. You get these cars all bunched up. You got $1.5 million to the winner, $18 million purse. Something got to give.
Tell you a guy that I'm all of a sudden taking notice of, a guy that actually was running a Ford product less than a month ago, made the swap to Dodge, Robbie Gordon in the 7 car. He's basically worked his way up in the top 10.
There's guys up there who have been up there all night, but here they are now when it counts.
Patrick Carpentier missed the race, so that Valvoline sponsorship transferred over to Robbie Gordon for tonight. Aerial coverage is brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. There's the Goodyear blimp, camera aboard, and we'll have some drivers come down pit road. Kvapil with damage, Yaley, Menard on pit road. Denny Hamlin was also involved, Montoya, and now Blaney creeps into the garage area without brakes, his car pretty well torn up. Mark Martin's also in.
Another car that hit pit road who continues to fight that race car. We've talked about him. He sat on the pole. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Here with 10 laps to go, he was back on pit road.
And there's something wrong with all these people's seats. I don't know what's going on, but they're not using them.
They're standing up.
Must be something wrong.
We talk a lot about parity in NASCAR, Darrell. A Chevrolet leads, a Ford is second, a Dodge is third, and Kyle Busch's Toyota right now is fourth, Steve.
And Mike, listening to him as the caution came out, he's contemplating when to make his run. He says, I'm afraid if I go now, the 20's going to get me. Basically, what they've decided to do is just go as quick as they can, as hard as they can, and try to hold everybody off because they know they have a great race car.
Last fall, team owner Rick Hendrick told Kyle Busch he wouldn't be back with this team. They opened up a spot basically for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Joe Gibbs Racing picked him up. J.D. Gibbs runs that team. He is a great motivator, as great a motivational speaker as his dad, Super Bowl winning coach Joe Gibbs. The 3 Gibbs drivers, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, all have somewhat mercurial personalities off the track and on. And I sat down with the 3 of them this week, and they said their goal this season is to disprove all the people who've said the Gibbs team's going to implode. They say it's not going to happen. We all have the same personality. We all want to win. We're all in this together.
You know what it reminds me of? 8 years ago, they wasn't sure if Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds would work together like we have up here in the booth.
It also reminds me of this. We come back, bring that tape with you in July, will you?
There you go.
See how things go.
This is the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and let's have a look at tonight's Sprint Mobile Monster Moment. The race changed in an instant, and with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, you can follow the race instantly, and look how quickly the race has changed and the lead has changed, as Newman could not hold off Jeff Burton for the lead. Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart nipping at their heels. This race certainly can change in an instant with 9 laps to go.
And Larry, you know something that's interesting to me? We talked about the chassis dyno that they did after the 150s. Childress's cars were down 30 horsepower to the Toyotas. Now that was after the Thursday race. You reckon they were saving a little something for today?
And that has been kind of the norm. Go back to last year. Kevin Harvick, all the Childress cars were some of the slowest cars here in qualifying, but that best driving race car for Kevin Harvick went to victory lane.
I like what I see right here. Oops, sorry. That's Kim. I like that too. That's Kim Burton. She is her husband's greatest cheerleader, is always atop the pit box and is always just emotionally tied up as this race gets to its conclusion and her husband's in contention.
There is not a more intense individual on pit road than Kim Burton.
What I was going to circle was the pace car and show you that the lights are off on top of the pace car, which means when they come around, they'll get the green flag for 8 laps to go. And who can win it? We've got 33 cars on the lead lap. Burton Chevy, Biffle's Ford, Newman's Dodge, Bush's Toyota, then Casey Mears, Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, and Reed Sorensen in the top 10.
And they will not have to deal with lap down cars. This is what we call a down finger restart. Less than 10 laps to go. They'll stay single file to about turn 1. That's about all it'll last.
8 laps, 20 miles to decide the Daytona 500.
Yeah, better start playing some serious defense, boys. If you're up front, they're going to be coming after you.
And Jeff Burton's the man up front. Richard Petty has often said the best you can do is put yourself in a position to win. Circumstances dictate the outcome. Here we go.
Pretty good restart. I think Kyle Busch is laid back there a little bit, guys. Watch him come off turn 2 here now. Going to get a whale of a run down the back. Here he comes. He's coming.
Casey Mears not quite close enough to give Busch much of a push.
Well, they got strung out pretty good on that start there. Pretty good job on Burton's part. Kind of snookered them just a little bit.
Casey Mears has Tony Stewart with him.
And Tony got a great push, if you can believe this, from Kurt Busch in the 2 car going through 1 and 2 and a great run down the back straightaway.
And we've been talking about Kurt Busch. Oh, he's had a bad week. He snake bit. Here he is running 7th and a shot at winning this thing.
In a rearview mirror full of Dale Earnhardt Jr., 7 to go.
Roger Penske has won 14 Indianapolis 500s, never the Daytona 500, but he has 2 cars in the top 10 right now, Newman and Kurt Busch.
And Ryan Newman, he didn't even put up a fight. He just said, this cat's coming, I better get out of his way. Man goes into the first turn, running 4th, comes out of the second turn, heading for the lead.
And Mike, you've been saying it all week. The Pete Hamilton possibly of this race. How about that Casey Mears up there in that 5 car? He's about the only shot that Hendrick has, with the exception of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Yeah, don't count him out either.
Stewart to the high side.
He's looking for that orange car up there. He gets to that orange car, look out.
That's his buddy, Tony
Stewart.
Buddy.
And Junior and Stewart now nose to tail.
Come on, partner. Push me, partner.
Here they come.
And Darrell, about all Jeff Burton can do is protect the bottom of the racetrack.
Oh, we're car in the wall.
Right in front of you.
It's the 5 car.
Casey Mears.
He got a little tap going into 1.
Up in the wall, caution.
Dad, come.
For the 3rd time in 10 laps, the caution waves.
And we had 2 cautions in the first 160 laps. Now we've had 5 in about the last 25 laps.
Yeah, this is...
the right side's down on the young driver from Bakersfield, California, whose Uncle Rick won the Indy 500 4 times, whose dad Roger raced at Indy and was a great off-road star.
Garage, guys.
That is a shame.
Let's see what happens here. I know the 88 and the 20 were coming fast.
And here it is from the Goodyear blimp.
There's a 20 up on the outside, the orange car, and he's got Dale Jr. right on his tail. They come across the start-finish line, headed down here for 1, and this is where trouble starts. Casey tried to move over the block. Tony got him.
And it's almost like Casey was watching the 18 car. The 18 car started making that move, and Casey says, hey, I'm going with him.
One of the things the guys say about this new car is it's hard to block because the closing rate is so fast.
Mears had enough time to get up there, but they were coming too hard, too fast.
He waited too long. He should have hopped over there. When he knew they were coming, he should have hopped over. Now, that's not saying it's okay to wreck him, but he should have moved over quicker, and that way he wouldn't have gotten wrecked.
From Jeff Burton's onboard camera. And now from Dale Jr.
Back in front of you, go low, 1 inside there, keep digging, keep digging.
Tony Stewart absolutely did nothing wrong there in that 20 car.
Just in the blink of an eye, that's how quickly you can go from a chance to win to in the wall and in the garage.
no free pass because we're inside of 10 laps to go. And we will get a restart with a couple of laps to go. This race is scheduled for 200 laps. If we're under caution, then we will go into overdrive. A green, white, checkered flag finish, unless the caution comes out, in which case the race is over.
And what Mike is talking about, overdrive, is like overtime. We'll run extra laps, a green, white checker, no matter where we are.
The last 3 Daytona 500s have been decided with a green, white checker finish. You think this is exciting? Tune in next week when NASCAR goes California dreaming. Friday, it's all on speed. Sprint Cup practice, Craftsman Truck qualifying, and Sprint Cup qualifying. Saturday, the Craftsman Truck Series is on Fox, and more Sprint Cup practice on speed.
I get to
Next
work with
Sunday, NASCAR race day on speed and Victory Lane bracket the Auto Club 500 powered by Q right here on Fox.
I get to do the truck race next week with Rick Allen, Phil Parsons. Looking forward to that.
Should be a lot of fun. Boy, they had a fiery crash here to open their season. P.J. Jones climbing out okay, but a couple of bad wrecks in that one.
Yeah, another exciting finish, too.
You saw our starter, the flagman, with the one finger down. That's what we talk about, down finger restart. There's the owner of that 31 car, Richard Childress. He's been to Victory Lane twice in the Daytona 500 with Dale Earnhardt Sr. 10 years ago, Kevin Harvick last year.
Darrell, everybody's misfortune, in this case Casey Mears, is somebody's good fortune. Was that caution flag a break for Jeff Burton, or is he now a sitting duck on this restart?
The closer that 18, the 18's on his back bumper now, and his teammate 20 right there with him, plus a drafting buddy in Dale Jr., I'd say he's a sitting duck.
It's Kyle Busch's crew chief, Steve Addington, looking for his first win as a Sprint Cup crew chief.
Kyle Busch has led 86 of the 196 laps today, more than twice as many as any other driver. This is Jeff Burton's 15th Daytona 500. He was the runner-up in 2000 and finished third last year, trying to win it for the first time.
Can you imagine the excitement of any of these drivers that's going to get to win the 50th running of the Daytona 500? That's one we'll never forget.
And how about the Toyota in second? A foreign nameplate has only won once in the entire history of what is now the Sprint Cup Series, and that was back in 1954.
Little buddy, you better get back
yes,
down.
You better.
You better get back down in there, little buddy.
Hey, DW.
Yeah, buddy.
Sitting back here watching the way this thing's kind of shaking out. This is what I think is going to happen. 31 takes off. 18 goes to the inside. He thinks his teammate Tony Stewart's going to come with him. Tony fakes him, goes to the outside, brings the 12 and the 88. He goes to the lead, and then we're going to have ourselves a Donnybrook all the way down to the end.
I might say that you were right, Jeff, except I like the way Tony Stewart was talking to Kurt there, or Kyle there just a minute ago. When they were real calm and they had a plan, and I think they'll stick to it.
Yeah, I want to see that plan in the end. Every man for himself.
Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch told me earlier this week they will work together until one lap to go.
Tony Stewart tried to time the start there. Kyle Busch almost flirts with that out-of-bounds line. That yellow line is out of bounds. We'll see what happens here. Jeff Burton's in the middle with no help.
And Dale Jr. hooks up with the man who's been fastest here all day, Kyle Busch. Stewart's got help from Ryan Newman.
And how about Kurt Busch in that 2-car? Roger Penske has never had a 1-2 finish in a Sprint Cup race.
And he's never won at Daytona in this series.
I guess we're clean on the 18. I was a little bit worried about that pass he tried to make.
Well, he gave all those positions back, Darrell. Anything that he might have gained, he has backed off and given back. So now he's okay for these 2 laps to go.
And then how about these suspects at the front of the field right here? No surprise, Tony Stewart. But look at Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch.
And how about Reed Sorensen in that 41 car? 2 laps to go.
But it's not over. So
by no means.
Yeah, don't cash the check yet.
This is Tony Stewart's 10th Daytona 500, and already people are lining up saying, are you ever going to win it? Could tonight be the night?
What's going to be interesting, watch the high line. Remember a year ago, Kevin Harvick on the high side. Watch that high line.
Boy, nobody really wants to go with the 18 right here. They all seem to be working against him, but if he can ever get there, look out.
Little push from Newman and help coming. That's Kyle Busch trying to get to Stewart.
Folks,
2 Dodges, 2 Toyotas for the win.
Strap down this big TV. She's going to go for a ride.
Here we come. White flag. Bail lap. 1 to go.
Woohoo! Stewart's got a great car, no question about that. It's just a matter of if Kurt can get a little help.
And now, Ryan jumped to the high side. Tony Stewart blocks him. Here comes Kyle Busch on the bottom.
Uh-oh, Toyota drag race down the back. Toyota drag race.
Teammates.
Newman was trying to get help from the other blue Dodge. Now he's got it. Toyota on the inside lane. Dodge on the outside lane. Who's going to win it?
It's going to come all the way to the wire. Here they go into turn 3.
Teammates working together. 2018, 212. 12 is going to win this race. I don't believe they can catch him back to the line.
He's going to have to make it wide.
Pedal, baby, pedal.
He's going to have to make it wide.
It's the Boilermaker, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500.
Way to go, guys. Way to go.
Roger Penske's first restrictor plate win and his first 1-2 finish.
And done it in style, man. 1-2.
Hello, Newman.
Look at this.
This bunch has not been to victory lane since 2005.
He is. I have to give him credit on that one.
It is the 125th try for Penske Racing South.
Bud, great job.
To win a restrictor plate race. They've done it.
You know what I really like? And that tells you how good this race car is. They didn't wreck.
No.
They laid all over each other and they tried, but they did not wreck.
In this group, they have not been to victory lane since 2005.
Away from Bobby Labonte as he pulled alongside. Tears of joy. That's Ryan's wife, Chrissy.
Oh, man, I love it. Oh, my gosh.
And you know who I'm happy for? They put Roy McCauley over here with Ryan Newman. Roy was Kurt Busch's crew chief last year. His wife, Amy, took sick with cancer. He took a leave of absence. Here he is, the winning Daytona 500 crew chief.
Now, buddy, that'll warm your heart up. I can hear it tell you. He's a sweet guy.
From the final restart.
What in the world happened to the inside of his car, Larry?
Oh, it's just your average smoke-filled boardroom.
Yeah. I've seen burnouts, but I've never seen one quite like that.
Last year, the Daytona 500 winner was 6th with half a lap to go. Here's the restart. Newman is 4th with no drafting help. Kurt Busch is 2 cars behind him. The Toyotas go this way and that. And Kyle Busch has to back up to avoid getting a yellow line penalty. That takes him out of play. So now it's Stewart's Toyota trying to hold off the 2 Dodges.
And Junior went down to go with Kurt or with Kyle, and he just couldn't go because he had to back up.
So Kurt Busch gets right up against the bumper of his teammate Ryan Newman, and here they come.
This is the move that surprised me. I thought those 2 Toyotas would be, I didn't think you could get by them, but those guys blew right by them.
They had that run off turn 2 with the bump draft with the help from Reed Sorensen.
Look at little Reed up in there. Top 5 for him. Larry, what did we say about the Dodges all week long?
That they had some good race cars.
Well, I want you to look at the top 10.
Dodge
6 of the top 8.
First, second, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
That's
Dodge.
Oh,
wow.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 9th, and Jeff Burton got kicked all the way back to 13th.
For Roger Penske, Walt Zarnicki, Don Miller, and all the folks at Penske Racing South, Helio Castroneves, their IndyCar racing teammate in the suite next door, this is a great night.
He's going to have to dance with Newman now.
The Penske number 12 is the 4th Dodge to visit victory lane in the Daytona 500, and Dick Berggren is there to greet the 32nd different winner of the Great American Race.
Ryan, it's been more than 2 years since you've been to Victory Lane, and here you are at Victory Lane in the biggest race of the year. How'd you do it?
With Kurt Busch and Penske Racing. I mean, without Kurt, there was no way possible. I got to thank him. He could have made it 3 wide, and he was the best teammate ever there. And thank him. Our Altel Dodge was awesome. I got to thank Mobile Kodak. Get all the sponsors in before I forget. But just a great effort. My dad's spotting for me. My grandpa upstairs. Just so many great people here. My grandmother's here today. These guys on the team, they deserve it for sure. And Roger Penske, the organization, they're celebrating back here in Mooresville.
You've had several minutes since the drop of that checkered flag to think things over. What has gone through your mind in those several minutes? That is Dad.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Right there.
Dad in tears. Chrissy was in tears. What a moment.
Yeah, it's awesome. My wife, Chrissy, my dad's here, and just all the great people. I mean, we're a family, and getting this Altel Dodge in Victory Lane was awesome. And, again, couldn't have done it without Kurt Busch. Tony blocked me hard. Thankfully, he thought he had Kyle to help push him, and when Kurt pushed me, man, we just stuck together, and it was just awesome.
Congratulations. What a race to win. Let's go to Chris Devoda.
Tony Stewart had a great car. It was a great finish, but I have to believe the disappointment of coming so close kind of outweighs everything else right now. Is that true?
That's probably a pretty good guess, Krista. I mean, I don't think too many people will go take the white flag and like finish in third, but proud of our guys. I mean, we tried to win the Daytona 500, so that's all I can say.
Second in the Bud Shootout, second in the duel, second in the nationwide race.
To the back, to the front, to the back, speeding on pit road, and then a dramatic finish.
This was unbelievable. You know, we just kept our head down. We had a car that was capable of a top 10, but it was going to be tough to break through and win. And at least we finished second and pushed a teammate to a win. I felt emotional crossing the start-finish line, having a Penske 1-2. To see Newman break his drought and to drive into Victory Lane, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the small part of helping him win. And for us to finish second, no worries. You know, we didn't have a car I didn't think to win. And so the Altel team did great. Our Miller Lite Dodge team did excellent to come back from 43rd a couple times. And this was a great Daytona 500 for Penske Racing.
Now, when you back it up a little later on tonight and you watch it back in your motorhome or at home, and you watch the final lap and a half, can you give us your perspective of what it was like in the cockpit seeing the whole chess match unfold?
You know, I had the 9 behind us, the 41 behind us. The Dodges were up top. The 19 was there as well. And if Newman stayed on the bottom to go with the 20, I believe the Miller Lite Dodge could have won that race. If he pulled back up, which he did, I was going to bash his rear bumper in and push him to the win. Unbelievable. At the end, you fight for 490 miles to position yourself, and we had 4 fresh tires, we had track position, and we had a big heart today, and it was emotional across the start-finish line pushing Newman. I felt great.
A 1-2 finish for the captain, Roger Penske. What a way to start 2008.
Well, Kyle, you had a fabulous race car. Talk about what happened on the last restart.
Well, those guys lagged back, and that's normally not allowed. So I don't know what the protocol is on that stuff, but I tried to get back there a little bit more to get back with them, and they just had a head of steam coming. And I pulled down low to go around to 31, and luckily I didn't get busted for going below the yellow line because I got forced down there, and just kept my foot in it. Casey came with me there and helped me out and propelled us up to the 4th place finish that we got. And there on that last lap, Stewart had a chance to go high to block the 12 and the 2, but they just had such a big run. I think he knew it was going to be a waste of time, but he stayed down there with us to try to get us to get together in order to push up through there. But I just didn't have big enough help from behind there with Casey to get up to there.
Good job, Kyle.
Thanks.
And a driver who is down here pretty much all smiles is Reed Sorensen. You had a great car really all of Speed Week to finish 5th in the Daytona 500, the 50th running. How does that feel?
Feels pretty good. It's not quite a win, but it feels pretty close. Everybody on the Target team, including the guys back at the shop, have done a great job getting these new cars ready, and it's been good the past 2 weeks. We ran good in the shootout, good in the duels, and ran good tonight. And our strategy was to take it easy there at the beginning and come along there at the end, and that's what we did. And luckily we got some pushes from some of the Dodge guys out there helped us out. And I'm just real proud of everybody on the team and definitely excited. And hopefully this gains some momentum to go in the rest of the season.
He started 5th, finished 5th, and made a huge statement for 2008. Dick?
Ryan Newman's father, Greg, has helped his entire career, all the way from the beginning. Dad has been there. Was this the goal all along?
Yes, it was, by all means.
What does this mean to you?
When he said he was going to be a race car driver when he was 8 and a half, he has now become the race car driver he said he wanted to be.
You did a good job with him. And Chrissy Newman, the wife, you have been on top of the war wagon for all of these races, and now here you are in victory lane at the Daytona 500. What are your emotions?
I can't stop shaking and crying. I'm just really proud of Ryan and this team. They really worked hard, and I'm excited for these guys.
There have been a lot of tears of joy in this pit, Steve Burns.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr., top 10 finish in your first points race with Hendrick Motorsports. Overall, a good speed weeks. Talk about tonight.
Yeah, it was. We didn't obviously have enough car there most of the day, but we ran well. I'm real proud of my team. Real proud of the effort that we had this week, and I got to thank them because it's been great for me. I've enjoyed this so much, and the crew deserves a lot of credit. The motor guys and fabricators. We struggled a little bit today, just trying to get good and get great, but we got pretty good near the end of the race. I made a lot of poor choices in where to take my runs and what to do with them. Nobody really wanted to help anybody, and I didn't either. You know, you get runs, you go. So it's just congratulations to Ryan and Penske. Ryan's a hard racer. Surely deserves what he got tonight, and we're pretty proud. We're going to build on this. It's a great finish for us to start the season, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun this year.
See you in California next week.
Yes, sir.
As a team owner, Roger Penske won the Indianapolis 500 14 times. He had never won the Daytona 500. What is this? You got a Hendrick hat on.
Well, I talked to Rick earlier today. I said, you've been in the winner's circle so many times. If we win, will you give me your hat? So he was the first one down here. So I thank him, and what a great day for our teams. And to see the Alltel Dodge come through, and Newman, we've been working here for many years. And certainly, Kirk, the teamwork was just unbelievable. But it's a big day in our life for our whole team.
Congratulations to you, Roger.
They got. This is what I was trying to tell you. Dodge.
Saw Sam Hornish in this shot, coming over to congratulate his new teammates. What a great team effort. We've said all week long in Daytona that this year, more than any other year, teamwork would be the key. And at the top of the day, we said, you know, the fastest car doesn't always win the Daytona 500, and here we are.
Well, and it proved out. I mean, you look at Ryan and Kurt, and then you look on down there at the Abraham cars. I don't know, together, the three of them were together, and then that's what happened to Dale Jr. He lost his wingmen. You know, Jimmy had trouble, Jeff had trouble, and all of a sudden he's hung out there by himself, and Tony worked with his teammate. And if you look at the rundown, it's all about teammates. That's what this car is going to require, working together with your teammate.
Larry, a great race and a lot of, you know, twists and turns to get through the 500 miles. A very clean race for the first half, and then, as Darrell likes to say, cautions bred cautions.
And that's the way it always works. These guys knew going in it was going to be 500 miles. You wouldn't win this race in the first 300 or 400 miles, but you knew it when it got down to the end that we were going to see exactly what we saw. You talked about Sam Hornish. Great run for him, finished 15th in only his second Sprint Cup start. And I'm going to give a call to Robbie Gordon. Made that manufacturer change about 3 weeks ago, and Robbie comes home 8th. And because of what we saw with this car, I can't wait to get to Fontana now.
And another guy that asked what it's like to win the Daytona 500, a new member to the fraternity.
We'll be in California in 1 week, but first, we have more from Daytona International Speedway and the 50th running of the Daytona 500, which goes to Indiana's Ryan Newman.
Fox Sports welcomes you back to the Daytona 500, the 50th running. In a tender moment, the father of Ryan Newman, the winner here, Greg Norman, who started his own automotive business back in 1980, and enough success to support the family and his son in racing, and an emotional moment. As he said, his son delivered the same promise he told him at age 8. He would be a top-notch racer, and went on to win the Daytona 500 with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, as we look at the unofficial final results. And maybe Kurt Busch got the last laugh, helping push his Dodge teammate past Tony Stewart into victory lane.
Oh, definitely so right there. We saw a lot of muscle right now by those Dodges right there at the end of that race, but we also saw what teammates mean to one another. You know, there was Penske, you know, doing what they had to do, along with Gibbs. You know, Tony had a shot at it if he could, a little bit more help. Again, all the Dodges are up there. You've got to believe that everybody working together, that was the difference of them finishing and winning this race.
in such a historic Daytona 500, a 30-to-1 long shot if you're looking at the odds in Las Vegas. And that's one thing we know, Jeff, as much as we like to figure out the power of Hendrick Motorsports with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Joe Gibbs Toyota, in the end it was Dodges who, at least coming into this race, not a lot of people said would be at the lead pack.
They hadn't shown a lot of strength all during testing. I mean, they basically have been behind, and here in the end, I mean, they started slowly but surely, sneaking up on it. Reed Sorensen was a factor in the Budweiser shootout. I mean, everybody's been kind of like a player, but a very quiet player. So when you look at the big scheme of things, you say, well, golly, how in the world can they take down Toyota? How can you outrun Hendrick? Well, I think they pretty much showed you how you do that. You do it with teamwork, you keep working on your race car, and you got to have somebody who wants it bad enough to go up there when it counts and lay it all on the line. And that's what Ryan and basically his teammate Kurt Busch did. I mean, they laid it on the line when it counted.
And the 30-year-old from South Bend, Indiana, with help from his crew chief, who was standing by with our Dick Berger. Dick?
And that crew chief is Roy McCauley. How much of a team effort was this win?
Well, it was a really team effort with the two's help, the Alltel Dodge, Ryan Newman, the 12 team in general. I can't say enough for Penske Racing as a whole. I do want to say a couple things, though. Dick, I've known you for a few years, and I've always said when I get the big one, I'm going to take your hat. But first, I want to say a couple things. I just want to say hello to my wife at home. Couldn't have done this without her. The team couldn't have done this without her. And my mom and dad. And Ryan Newman, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Dick, I'm going to take your hat.
Congratulations, Roy McCauley. I'll take yours.
All right, thanks, Dick, and congratulations to Roy. 42 lead changes, 16 different leaders. And early on, Kurt Busch, you heard him talk about being pushed to the back of the pack. He got nudged into the grass, had to work his way back to the front. Jeff Gordon, who did get back to finish the race, suspension problems took him out of the race with about 55 laps to go, and then Roush Fenway Ford's getting together.
Yeah, those teammates right there, the 6 car of David Reagan gets loose, slides up there and collects the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Again, not good sometimes when teammates get together like that.
Jimmy Johnson involved here. Former Daytona 500 winner, back-to-back championships. Did get back to finish on the lead lap. Clint Boyer, who last year finished upside down on fire, spinning here, bringing out a caution. In fact, we had a rash of 5 cautions over the last 50 laps. And a crash here as well. Casey Mears bringing out a caution.
Yeah, right there you see last year's winner Kevin Harvick gets in the back of Dave Blaney, makes basically a chain reaction. A lot of guys get into one other. The 22 car, Dave Blaney, did not finish here. Here's one of the wildest runs here all night long. The 5 car, Casey Mears tries to pull up in front of the 20 car of Tony Stewart. Tony gets in the back of him, knocks him in the outside wall, ends his night.
And ending the longest career string, 81 races without a victory. You see the help from Kurt Busch, a couple of blue Dodgers, and Ryan Newman in the 12 car. With his father Greg spotting for him, his grandparents here pulling into victory lane for his first Daytona 500. And the celebration continues. Let's go back upstairs and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. Ryan Newman and team in victory lane in what is a bittersweet 50th Daytona 500 for the sport's ruling France family. Last year, Lisa France Kennedy's husband Bruce lost in an airplane crash. And last June, Bill France Jr., who succeeded his dad, the tall man, Bill Sr., as the head of NASCAR, passed away while we broadcast a race at Dover. But Bill Sr.'s dream of a great super speedway was designed to be here for generations, and it and this sport will endure.
In the world of auto racing, teamwork is the key to success.
And the same is true off the track.
That's why Fox Sports is proud to team up with Autism Speaks,
to make a difference in the lives of children with autism.
Autism is a complex brain disorder that now affects 1 in 150 children.
But with your help, we can change the future for all those who struggle with this heartbreaking disorder.
Please visit autismspeaks.org to learn more about autism.
With your help, we can help. Fox Sports establishing a Fox Sports Supports, a long-term charitable initiative devoted to raising awareness, financial assistance, and volunteerism for select health-related charities. And to learn more about autism and how you can help, please visit autismspeaks.org. And our aerial coverage throughout The 50th running of the Daytona 500 brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. 9th time we've had a Daytona 500 finish settled by a last lap pass, and Ryan Newman etching his name in history.
He has definitely done that right there. He has an opportunity to put his footprints as well as his signature in concrete for the Walk of Fame. But probably more importantly, the record books, the history that was made here tonight can never be replaced or duplicated because there will only be one running of the 50th Daytona 500.
And next week we head to California at California Speedway. Plenty of tickets still available. And I think this gives us a signal, Jeff, all the anticipation of Speed Weeks and coming into this race. We really don't know what to expect for sure.
No, but I can tell you this much right now. When you talk about momentum, you better watch this 12 team going to that racetrack next week.
It's going to be a great season, NASCAR on Fox. When we had a chance to remember names like Petty, Yarborough, and Allison, we shifted forward with names like Gordon, Earnhardt, and Stewart. At the end, it was Ryan Newman in victory lane in the 50th running of the Daytona 500. Promotional considerations provided by
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys! NASCAR racing, boys!